Chapter 1. On an autumn day, the warm afternoon sun shines on the Hokage building. This building, which has been around for decades and is already a bit old, has been given a gilded halo. Inside the Hokage's office, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, wearing the Hokage's divine robe, quickly flipped through the list of 46-year ninja school graduates and the list of ninja team vacancies to be filled on his desk. Combining the strengths and weaknesses of each genin, they are combined into relatively balanced teams and matched with corresponding leading ninjas. The situation in the ninja world has become increasingly turbulent in the past 2 years. The increasingly frequent small-scale conflicts between the various ninja villages caused the reduction of many ninja teams in Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen was well aware that an organized ninja team was an important guarantee for ninjas to improve their mission success rate, survival rate, and combat effectiveness. Whether it is to prepare for a war that may break out at any time, or for the safety of subordinates, the arrangement of team members must be done with extreme caution. More than an hour later, he checked the draft grouping in his hand several times and confirmed that it was the best option he could think of at the moment. Sarutobi Hiruzen began to summon Janin one after another. Akamichi Choza, Abarame Shimwa, Namikaze Minato, Unno Ikeku, Kaim Kudo, Mimura Kanamaki, Yamanaka Kei. Before we knew it, it was almost evening. When he heard the knock on the door again, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked up at the last Janin he had summoned today. He was about 18 or 19 years old, a little over 1.80 meters tall, with a slender and straight figure from long-term exercise. Plus that short golden hair and handsome face. If it weren't for the dark circles under his eyes, he would look very listless. This handsome face alone would probably make countless Konoha girls toss and turn in the dead of night. Good afternoon, Hokage-sama. Yamanaka Kei had a look of fatigue on his face and raised his hand to greet Sarutobi Hiruzen. I stayed up late to practice until midnight last night, and this afternoon when I went to work, I had just caught up on some sleep when I was called to the first floor of the Hokage building to be on standby. Who can withstand this? Jing, you should relax once in a while, so that your practice will be more efficient. Sarutobi Hiruzen was already aware of how hard Yamanaka Kei practiced daily, and he didn't care about his lazy appearance. After saying a few words to show his concern, he went straight to the point of calling him over today. I have discussed with Shikaku and the others and have decided to transfer you from the analysis team to the regular troops. Here is your transfer letter and subordinate information. Yes. Yamanaka Kei took the document, put the transfer letter into the ninja tool bag at his waist, and looked at the subordinate's information in his hand. Yamanaka Kei had already informed him before, and he was prepared for the transfer from the intelligence department. Just transfer into the regular ninja team and bring a few genin with them. You can take a break at will after completing 1 or 2 missions each month. Just think of it as a change of place to fish. But when he saw 3 familiar names, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows in surprise. Yui Kurane, Might Guy, Genma Shiranui. Have these 3 ever worked as a team? That's not right. Shouldn't Ebisu be the teammate of Might Guy and Genma Shiranui? Besides, they are not graduates of this year. For new green leaves to thrive, they cannot do without the patient guidance of their predecessors. Just as the will of fire is passed down from generation to generation, it is now up to you to lead the new generation of children. Sarutobi Hiruzen obviously did not explain in detail to Yamanaka Kei why he had chosen this grouping idea, and he just promoted his will of fire. Please rest assured, Hokage-sama. I will teach them carefully. Yamanaka Kei suppressed his doubts, put away his lazy attitude, and made a serious promise. Sarutobi Hiruzen was obviously very satisfied with this attitude. After instructing him to report to the Janin standby station tomorrow and go directly to Konoha's 4th training ground to pick up the people, he waved goodbye and let him leave. Walk out of the Hokage building. Yamanaka Kei said hello to a few familiar ninjas and walked towards the Yamanaka clan's territory towards the sunset. Just halfway there, a mechanical prompt sound suddenly rang in his mind. Ding, system repair completed, database sorting completed, energy absorption progress has reached 100%, system hibernation ended, and the occupation entry system is enabled. Personal panel is open, exploration function is open, entry extraction, gifting, copying, upgrading, and stripping functions are open. Profession binding completed, bound profession, ninja. Complete career tasks and career events to get the chance to extract, give, copy, upgrade, and strip entries. The novice gift package has been opened, and you will get 3 chances to draw entries and 1 chance to give away items. Yamanaka Kei paused slightly, his expression became unnatural for a moment, and then returned to normal in an instant. As usual, he packed a fast food at a roadside restaurant and returned home as usual. 5-way anti-sensing barrier. Activate. Making the way seal with his hands, Yamanaka Kei activated the chakra in his body and slapped the ground with one hand, activating the barrier that had been set up at home a long time ago. Buzz! A light blue translucent barrier enveloped the entire room. The intricate runes on the barrier flickered slightly, completely isolating everything in the room from the outside world. Yamanaka Kei stood in the middle of the living room, his expression changing several times, and finally after letting out a long breath, he sat quietly in front of the coffee table. He had imagined cursing loudly at this system that was 19 years late when it was activated. I have also fantasized about crying and laughing loudly, venting my dissatisfaction and excitement. It was just that perhaps all the dissatisfaction and resentment he had felt in the past had been worn away over a long period of time, and when this moment really came, he was much calmer than he had expected. Host, Yamanaka Kei. Occupation, Ninja. Activated entries, Traveler, Red, Master of Yin Dun, Purple, Handsome, Blue, A little bit of knowledge, Green. Inactive entries, None. Entries extracted, 3 entry gift, 1. Time Traveler, Red. As a time traveler, you have lived 2 lives as a human being. The strength, growth rate, and growth limit of your soul and mental power are greatly improved. Yin Style Master, Purple. After more than a decade of intensive study and training, you have almost perfectly mastered the nature transformation and form changes of various Yin Style ninjutsu. Your efficiency in learning, studying, improving, and creating Yin Style ninjutsu has been greatly improved. The release speed, power, and effect of Yin Style series of ninjutsu have been greatly improved. Your resistance to Yin Style series of ninjutsu has been greatly improved. Handsome, Blue. A person favored by the world, born with extraordinary looks, with increased affinity and attractiveness to the opposite s*x. A little bit of knowledge, Green. You have been exploring the memories of ninjas for a long time, and have gained a lot of information and knowledge from them. Through continuous practice, you have initially mastered multiple attributes and types of ninjutsu, and your learning speed and memory have been slightly improved. It's worth my hard work and training for more than 10 years. Yamanaka Kei's lips curled up in satisfaction when he saw the detailed explanation of his entry. Without hesitation, he immediately began to extract new entries. Chapter 2. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the white entry Cricket Pupa, the black entry Brain Opening, and the purple entry Whatever You Shout Comes True. Cricket Pupa, white. Under specific stealth actions, the concealment effect and stealth speed are slightly improved, and the personal image is greatly reduced. Brain Hole Opening, black. The probability of suffering an accident to the head is greatly increased, the hardness of the skull and the recovery speed are greatly reduced, and the probability of death is slightly increased. Whatever you shout will come true, purple. The precise control of chakra allows you to abandon the cumbersome hand seals and shout whatever you shout to come true when you have sufficient proficiency in ninjutsu. The control of chakra is greatly improved, and the speed of releasing ninjutsu is greatly increased. What the hell is this? Yamanaka Kei frowned. Although when he saw the entry titled a little bit understood just now, he vaguely felt that his system might be a bit abstract. But I never expected it to be so abstract. Except for the last entry, which is suspected to be related to first Hokage Senju Hashirama, the name is a bit weird, but the effect is still good. The first 2 entries are really hard to describe. Once the term Cricket Pupa is used, it basically means losing the right to choose a mate in Konoha. And Brain Opening actually means actually opening a hole in the head. This entry is specifically used to harm people. Yamanaka Kei thought for a moment and took a look at the entry granting opportunities that came out of the novice gift pack. I was thinking in my mind that if I ever became enemies with someone, I would make arrangements for him. This kind of pure debuff may be used correctly by placing it on the enemy. I thought about it for a while. Yamanaka Kei just activated the purple entry Whatever You Shout, Comes True. The next moment, an indescribable feeling of enlightenment came over me. The densely packed chakra meridians in the body seemed to be engraved in the mind, clearly visible in every detail. Every chakra is under your control as easily as using your fingers. Those ninjutsu that have been honed over and over again. At this point it's like it has become the body's instinct, and it can be released with the simplest guidance. Heart Transforming Puppet Curse Seal Technique. Yamanaka Kei made a no seal with one hand and pointed to the puppet doll used to practice ninjutsu at the side of the room. The puppet doll that was originally leaning quietly on one side of the room suddenly moved the next moment, and after moving its limbs slightly, it performed an extremely smooth physical skills display. Simplified seals, one-handed seals, it's really a magical skill to seduce people. Yamanaka Kei exclaimed in his heart and began to experiment with other ninjutsu again. The Yamanaka clan's unique hand seal when performing their family's secret technique is a variation of the seal and the seal. It can speed up the mobilization of the yin-dun energy in the body, allowing the user to release the family's secret techniques faster. Functionally impeccable. However, since the feature is too obvious, enemies who have a little knowledge of the Yamanaka clan's secret techniques know that when they see this hand seal, they just need to keep moving quickly. After all, the Yamanaka clan's techniques are special secret techniques involving soul power. If you act without complete confidence and make a mistake, it will take some time for your soul to return to your body. During this time, even a young child could easily take his life. Now that the special hand seals have been abandoned, it is absolutely impossible to defend against them when they sneak attack on others. I tried various ninjutsu for a long time. Yamanaka Kei rolled out a raised nan in his palm, feeling the stable chakra ball spinning at high speed, and the corners of his mouth couldn't stop curling up. All the various ninjutsu he often used could be done with one hand and in simplified hand seals, and the activation speed was more than twice as fast as before. Some of the more familiar ninjutsu can also achieve clap your hands and whatever you shout will come true. As for those ninjutsu that are relatively unfamiliar and only roughly mastered, although it is impossible to simplify the hand seals, the release speed and the degree of control over the ninjutsu are greatly improved. In the fast-paced ninja combat, sometimes a difference of a few tenths of a second is enough to determine the outcome of a battle. Yamanaka Kei's strength is not weak among the Konoha nin. The attack speed has doubled directly, and the combat effectiveness displayed will undoubtedly be improved even more. I don't know if I can be on the cage level right now. Ugh, hold on. Don't get carried away. Yamanaka Kei kept adjusting his mindset, repeatedly reminding himself not to follow the example of Izuku and waste time recklessly. After all, he didn't have Hojiki Suijutsu to help him ward off disaster, nor did he have Jago and Uzumaki Karin to help him prolong his life, and he didn't have a brother named Uchiha Itachi and a father named Satsuki Hago Romo. If this thing starts to float, who knows if it will be GG. Moreover, they are cage-level masters, and their strength is not just in their attack speed. Combat experience, tactical wisdom, ninjutsu matching, physical strength, nerve reaction speed, chakra amount. It's a long and arduous journey. However, as long as we don't rush directly into the encirclement of the enemy's large forces, we should be safe in the Third Ninja World War. Yamanaka Kei sighed inwardly. The nerves that were originally tense due to the approaching Third Ninja World War relaxed a little. Having experienced the Second Ninja World War, he knew better than anyone how cruel the battlefield was. It was a hell filled with blood and wailing. It is a slaughterhouse where humanity has been destroyed and only killing and numbness remain. Even though many years have passed. Recalling his experience on the battlefield, he still feels frightened. Yamanaka Kei forms a seal with one hand. The 5 shadow clones that had been hiding and training deep under the mansion were instantly released. The exhaustion brought by shadow clones training and the fatigue after the pressure suddenly dissipated all came to his mind. I'm too lazy to fight my body's instincts anymore. Yamanaka Kei casually untied the 5-way anti-sensing barrier in the house, ate a hastily prepared dinner, and then threw himself onto the fluffy and soft bedding. A good night's sleep. The next day. The early morning sunshine dispelled the cool mist. The birds outside the window flapped their wings and chirped non-stop on the branches. Yamanaka Kei wakes up from his sleep. Looking at the clock on the bedroom wall, which had already pointed to 10 o'clock, I yawned lazily. The skyrocketing strength has brought enough sense of security. It made him sleep very soundly. Once you relax, your biological clock goes out of order. Yamanaka Kei rubbed his face, stood up to wash, and continued to study the functions of the system. The previous prompts clearly explain how the system obtains opportunities to extract, donate, copy, upgrade and strip entries. There is a chance to obtain it by completing career tasks and career events. As a Konoha nin, there was no need to explain what his professional mission was. And the big professional event? Ninja World War? Turning point in ninja world history? Major event in the movie? No matter which one it is, it seems that you need to actively participate in some dangerous events. Yamanaka Kei packed his ninja tool bag, put on his clothes, and turned to go out. Big events and the like can be skipped for now. For the moment, he decided to take his subordinates who had been waiting for the whole morning to check out the drop rate of normal ninja missions. Chapter 3. It was almost noon on the streets of Konoha, the sun was shining brightly and there were many people walking around. Yamanaka Kei ate the Anko chestnut yoken he bought from Amakurigan and strolled all the way to the Jainin waiting station. His eyes occasionally swept over the merchants, civilians, and ninjas on the street. These terms rarely appear on ordinary villagers. Even if there are any, they are mostly white or green entries that are of little use. Relatively speaking, the probability of a ninja having an entry is much higher, but not everyone has it, and blank ninjas account for a higher proportion. No matter which world it is, there are always more ordinary people. Yamanaka Kei sighed inwardly, threw the yoken wrapper into the trash can, and was about to walk into the Jainin waiting room. A 3-seater solid wood sofa shot out from the main door with a whistling sound. I didn't have time to see what happened. Powerful chakra energy burst out from the Jainin standby station. Then there was a loud bang. The glass of the entire Jainin waiting room exploded, and a crack about 10 feet deep on the ground reached all the way to the gate. Even the walls tilted and collapsed to varying degrees. A good Jainin waiting station turned into a dangerous building in the blink of an eye. Then, a basic wind-style airflow dance quickly blew away the diffuse smoke and dust. It also revealed the two people who were still facing each other in the Jainin standby station. Uzumaki Kushina and Shimura dance. Oink oink, a series of air-breaking sounds were heard, and 3 root ninjas wearing Anbyo costumes and animal masks instantly appeared behind Danzo, showing an attacking posture towards Kushina. Yamanaka Kei narrowed his eyes slightly, moved his feet and appeared behind Kushina. Along with him came Akamichi Choza and Akamichi Dodo of the Akamichi clan, Nara Suzaku of the Nara clan, Inyazuka Ja of the Inyazuka clan and Kurama Musakumo of the Kurama clan. As for the other Jainin who were originally in the Jainin standby station, perhaps he was intimidated by the power of the Hokage's assistant, or perhaps he did not want to get involved in the struggles among the top leaders. By this time, he had already disappeared. Shimura dance. I have made it very clear before, I will never give you the Uzumaki clan's sealing secrets. Uzumaki Kushina saw that he was not alone, and his already fierce momentum rose even more. Yamanaka Kei understood what he heard. No wonder, in addition to the Inoshika Ch clans of the Hokage line, even the head of the Kurama clan stood behind Kushina. So Danzo has touched the bottom line of the ninja family this time? A nine-tails Jinkriki who cannot control his emotions will only bring disaster to the village. I will ask Hiruzen to have you trained with the roots. Shimura Dan's cold eyes did not contain any unnecessary emotions. He didn't even glance at Yamanaka Kei, Akamichi Choza, Kurama Musakumo, and the others. After saying something harsh, he turned around and walked out. Uzumaki Kushina had a look of surprise on his face. Even Akamichi Choza and others were a little surprised to see him leave so easily. Yamanaka Kei had not seen the entire conflict and could not tell what Danzo's purpose was. But judging from the old man's current attitude of giving up easily, what he is plotting is probably not the so-called Uzumaki clan's secret sealing technique. It's not even really intended for Kushina to go for root training. After all, even if Sarutobi Hiruzen had his head kicked by a donkey, he would never allow Danzo to have the chance to get his hands on the control of Nine-Tails Jinkriki. Yamanaka Kei couldn't guess Danzo's purpose, but he was sure that the old man was up to no good. Before, he might have been unable to do anything to the other party due to the other party's identity and power. But now, system, give the entry brain opening to Shimura Dan's. A dark light that only Yamanaka Kei could see disappeared into Shimura Dan's body in the blink of an eye. As Shimura Dan was walking, he felt a slight chill on the back of his head. He thought that the malice of Uzumaki Kushina and others was too strong, causing his body to have subtle sensations, and he did not realize the coming of the crisis at all. Snap! The beams on the roof of the Jainin waiting room fell down with a distinct cracking sound. As a result, the entire building began to collapse rapidly. Yamanaka Kei and others instinctively used the body flicker technique to dodge away at the moment the beam broke. The 3 root ninjas who had been following Danzo were also moving quickly. Just after the rising smoke dissipated, the 3 root ninjas looked at each other, and not seeing Shimura Dan's, they hurriedly began to dig the collapsed ruins. Oh my god, is this thing so powerful? Yamanaka Kei was surprised and delighted, and felt that the effect of the black entry was truly explosive. This had just been installed on Shimura Dan's, and the other party was buried alive. Ha 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 ha. People who do too many bad things will never have a good ending. Kushina put his hands on his waist and laughed at Shimura Dan's who was buried alive. Especially after the 3 root members took great pains to drag the ragged, bloodied Danzo out of the rubble, her laughter became even more hearty. Shimura Danz, with a dizzy head, kept running his chakra and checking his body. Just now, when he was performing the body flicker technique, his calf suddenly and inexplicably cramped. The broken beam hit him hard on the forehead. If he hadn't used chakra to protect his vitals in time, he would probably have died by now. Is it the transplant of the Sharingan that caused insufficient chakra supply and muscle nerve disorders? Danzo felt his body and found nothing abnormal, so he could only attribute it to the after effects of the Sharingan transplant. Without paying any attention to Kushina, who came up to him and mocked him, he barely raised his arm and made a few gestures to his men. After simply bandaging him to stop the bleeding, the 3 root ninjas carried him quickly towards the root base. Yamanaka Kei looked at Danzo's back with a thoughtful look in his eyes. Name, Shimura Dan's occupation, Konoha Shinobi entries, single-eyed 3 Megatama, blue, wind style control, blue, brainwashing expertise, blue, seal grandmaster, green, do whatever it takes, white, ruthless and cruel, white, brainstorming, black. In terms of the number of entries, Shimura Dan's has the most of any person Yamanaka Kei has ever met. Especially those entries that are not related to combat. Brainwashing expertise controls thoughts, seal grandmaster controls behaviors, use any means to do anything reduces popularity and increases goal achievement rate, and ruthless lowers the bottom line of human nature and increases deterrence. With a series of effects combined, it is no wonder that the roots it created could remain rampant inside Konoha for decades. Today's weather is really nice. Thank you guys. Kushina was in a very happy mood and praised the weather, and began to thank the people who had just stood behind her. There was no trace of the blood-red pepper on her charming and sweet smile. You're welcome, Uzumaki Jainin. After nodding in greeting, Kurama Kanjayun maintained the demeanor of a clan leader and turned around and left slowly. He stood behind Uzumaki Kushina just now, only because Danzo's request for the Uzumaki clan's secret technique touched the bottom line of the ninja family. If Danzo had a different reason to attack, he would have left the Jainin waiting station early. Kushina didn't mind the other party's distant attitude. After turning around and talking to Akamichi Choza and others in turn, he slapped Yamanaka Kei, who was in deep thought, on the shoulder and spoke carelessly. Pig sister, long time no see. Chapter 4. I have said it many times, only those who are in the lineage of the clan leader will inherit the name Inoshika Ch. Yamanaka Kei looked at Uzumaki Kushina unhappily. What a weird name, pig girl. He is a grown man, male and female loving. He is neither the patriarch of the Yamanaka clan nor Sejuani who rides a wild boar. How is it related to pig girl? Oh my, who told you to be so cute when you were little, making people mistake you for a girl? Kushina smiled even more happily as she recalled the funny experience. You are the only one who misunderstands. Yamanaka Kei rolled his eyes speechlessly. Kushina entered the ninja school as a transfer student. As a classmate, he was one of the few people who didn't laugh at Kushina's red hair when she introduced herself. The first class had just ended. The other person ran up to him and asked where the women's restroom was and if he could go with her. It was as if people had mistaken his gender because of his overly handsome appearance when he was a child. Seeing an 8-year-old girl standing there with embarrassment and anxiety, Yamanaka Kei, who is an adult psychologically, naturally couldn't bear to put the other party into a more embarrassing situation, so he could only stand up silently and lead the way. Now that I think about it, their first meeting was purely a bad fate. Hehe Jing, what brings you to the Jainin standby station? Kushina put her hands behind her back, with a hint of anticipation on her pretty face. Ahem. I've been transferred to the regular troops and serve as the team leader Jainin. Yamanaka Kei took out the scroll containing the transfer letter from the ninja tool bag on his waist. Seeing Narasozaku, the person in charge of today's duty at the Jainin standby station, looking over, he raised his hand and threw the scroll over. Hey? That's great. We can see each other more often again. Well, let's talk later. My 3 poor subordinates have been waiting all morning. You're leaving right after we met. Never mind. I'll let you go this time. Come back early tomorrow. Report? See you tomorrow, see you tomorrow. Yamanaka Kei looked at the Jainin standby station, which had become a ruin. Seeing Kushina's expression stagnant, he counted on his fingers and began to calculate how much money he would have to pay this time. He hurriedly said hello to Akamichi Dingzuo, Akamichi Tangdong, and others, and disappeared on the spot with a body flicker technique. Konoha's fourth training ground. The autumn sun brought with it a gentle warmth, shining on the sweaty Might Guy and Genma Shiranui. The two of them were tirelessly carrying out the most basic physical training and ninja tool throwing training. The 10-year-old Yui Kurane sat on a large tree stump practicing kunao throwing, swinging her calves out of boredom. Listening to the shouts of her new teammates during training and the occasional explosions of ninjutsu during actual combat exercises in the third training ground less than a kilometer away, she sighed softly. It was bad enough that in the first year after graduation, I was forced to work as a handyman in a logistics organization because my teammates gave up on becoming ninjas. Now that he has reassigned teammates, he is delighted that they are all familiar faces and very strong, and none of them will give up being a ninja easily. As a result, we met the team leader Jainin, who was late for the first meeting for a whole morning. Although the assembly order only stated that we should gather at the fourth training ground in the morning, it did not specify the specific time. But it's already noon. Why is her ninja career full of disasters? While I was daydreaming, a faint fragrance like orchid drifted in with the autumn wind and lingered around my nose. Before Zihaihong could figure out what flower's fragrance it was, something strange happened suddenly in the training ground. The originally flat ground began to bulge slowly. Might Guy and Genma Shiranui, who were in training, noticed the abnormality at the first time and quickly dodged away. Before Xirihong could jump off the tree stump and evacuate, a giant python with a head as big as 3 meters in diameter broke through the ground and quickly crawled out from underground. Facing the terrifying giant python that was as big as a mountain, an unprecedented sense of crisis swept over Yui Kurane's body. The feeling as if every cell in her body was trembling and every nerve was frantically sounding in alarm made her hands and feet paralyzed. She dared not move at all for fear of attracting the attention of the giant python. Unfortunately, things did not go as planned. The giant python raised its huge head slightly, and its cold snake eyes looked straight at her, actually making a hunting gesture. The sense of crisis of impending death almost overwhelmed her remaining sanity. Move! Move! Move faster! Zihaihong screamed wildly in her heart, and her originally numb hands and feet burst out with unprecedented strength at this moment. But the giant python's attack speed was still much faster than her dodging speed. The stench coming from that huge, eerie mouth made her feel as if she smelled the breath of death. Ah! Just as the arrow was about to be shot, accompanied by a loud shout, a green figure shot out from the side of the giant python. With one kick, the giant python's head was moved 2 feet to the side, causing Ziriong to pass by the huge mouth. Boom! The giant python, which missed its target, raised a huge cloud of dust on the ground and let out a hissing roar. As the snake's tail swayed, it seemed to be unharmed. Genma Shiranui knew that the three of them could not be a match for the giant python, so he grabbed Yui Kurane, who had barely avoided the python's attack, and ran away while throwing a series of smoke bombs, then turned around and shouted loudly. Guy! Run! Might Guy, who succeeded in his attack, was also quick to move and quickly retreated following the two men's footsteps. Perhaps because she had been on the brink of life and death, Yui Kurane's thoughts were clearer than ever before. As soon as Shiranui Genma finished speaking, she immediately added. Run to the direction of the third training ground. There are Jainin who are testing Genin there. Who has a red flare? Quick! Clear! Might Guy reached for the ninja tool bag at his waist. Before he could even pull out the flare, the scene in front of him shattered like a mirror. The 3 people who were trying to escape rushed far away due to the inertia of their bodies. He almost collided head-on with a large tree whose trunk was more than 1 meter in diameter. After barely steadying themselves, the 3 of them were filled with shock as they looked at the giant python that had disappeared without a trace and the training ground without any signs of damage. Snap! 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 Applause came from one side of the training ground. Yamanaka Kei, wearing a black combat uniform and a Jainin vest on his upper body, walked out from the shade of the trees beside the training ground. Enough patience, extraordinary courage, excellent teamwork, and the right choices in times of crisis. Congratulations on passing the assessment. I am your new team leader, Jainin Yamanaka Kei. Please give me your guidance in the future. Youth will never let down anyone who works hard. I'm Might Guy, and I hope Mr. Jing will give me more guidance in the future. Although Might Guy was frightened by the illusion that was hard to tell whether it was real or fake, he still gave a thumbs up and revealed the big, shining white fang. I am Shiranui Genma, please give me your guidance. Genma Shiranui also forced himself to stand up from the ground and bowed seriously. Zihai Hong, please give me more guidance in the future. Yuhako's pale face slowly regained some color. While saluting, she was madly complaining about her team leader Jainin in her heart. It's so rude to start the assessment right away without even saying hello. She really felt like she was almost dying just now. But, what a powerful illusion. Chapter 5. Because her major is illusion, Kurane Yui knows much more about illusion than Might Guy and Genma Shiranui. The more she understood, the clearer it became to her how powerful the illusion that the young Jainin in front of her had just released was. Use that special light fragrance, similar to the olfactory illusion method, to pull people into the illusion without their knowledge. Then, within one breath, the sense of smell, vision, touch, taste, and hearing are interfered with and affected. And the person being cast the spell has no idea that he or she is under an illusion. This kind of performance alone is beyond the reach of ordinary A-level illusions. There was also that kind of completely unreasonable, cold murderous aura, as if facing a real giant python. What is obviously affected is the most instinctive perception and reaction to danger deep in human genes, beyond the five senses. Plus the last and most important point. Group magic. It can affect the five senses of three people simultaneously, and enable smooth communication between them without any sensory bias. This is at least a multiple combination illusion with A-level illusion as the core. Controlling the difficulty and effect of the ninjutsu, I'm afraid it can be comparable to S-level illusion. His own team leader, the Jainin, actually used a combination illusion that was as difficult and powerful as an S-level illusion to deal with three rookie Genins. When you think about it this way, it's even worse. I always feel like you're thinking of something very rude. Yamanaka Kei saw the look in Yui Kurane's eyes that looked at scum, and narrowed his eyes slightly, bending down to look directly into the other's ruby-like eyes. No, no. How could it be? Yui Kurane avoided her gaze and flatly denied the criticism she had just made against her team leader Jainin. Yamanaka Kei saw that the three little ones had completely forgotten that he was late for the morning because of his surprise attack and words. I thought to myself that children are really easy to deceive. As he turned and walked out of the training ground, he spoke again to the people behind him. Since you have passed the assessment, to celebrate the formation of the team, I will treat you to barbecue at noon. Follow me. It's decided. Walk to Yakiniku-Q while standing on your two fingers. If you can't do it, kick your legs 2,000 times. Might Guy was as responsive as always. Teacher Jing just mentioned skewers, not barbecue, so the destination should be Sanwiahu. Genma Shiranui corrected him with a senbon in his mouth and drooping eyelids. Hey? Is it the shop opened by the Inoshika CH clans? I heard the prices are very expensive. A serving of venison fillet costs 500 ryo. Zihai Hong's eyes lit up slightly, and she secretly decided to put her image aside for the time being and have a good meal. Otherwise it would be too unfair to her for the shock she just had. The psychological endurance is pretty good. Yamanaka Kei heard the three little ones laughing and talking behind him, and a smile appeared on his face. The talents of these three are unquestionable. The most talented Might Guy has 3 entries, Hot-Blooded Youth, blue, Extreme Recovery, blue, and Thick-Browed Kappa, white. His passionate youth gave him self-discipline and a strong will to never give up that was beyond the reach of ordinary people. Extreme Recovery can allow him to recover faster after his body reaches its limit and reduce the chance of hidden injuries. The white character Thick-Browed Kappa, although it reduces charm and chakra stability, it also improves concentration and physical training effects. The effects of the 3 terms are superimposed on each other. The effect is enough to make 99% of Konoha's ninjas far behind. Yui Kurane's talent is second only to Might Guy, with 2 entries, Psychic Power, blue, and Hallucination, green. The former increases the strength and upper limit of mental power, while the latter enhances the hallucinogenic effect of the illusion. If developed properly, the famous scene of Itaka's illusion should not happen again in the future. As for Genma Shiranui, there is only 1 entry for he who is near vermilion becomes red, blue. The effect is that with someone to teach and supervise, the learning speed and personal upper limit can be greatly improved. Although the number of entries is small, to be honest, it is not necessarily inferior to Xiri Hong's talent. The 3 little ones have both mentality and talent. Yamanaka Kei was sure that if he had paid a little more attention when teaching, the 3 of them would not have died halfway like in the original story. Future achievements will only be higher than the original. Just looking at 10-year-old Might Guy, 11-year-old Kurane Yui, and 12-year-old Genma Shiranui. He couldn't help but sigh. When he first watched the anime, what he saw was passion and bonds. But when he really came to this world, he had been struggling in the ninja world filled with blood and fighting for more than 10 years. All he could see was cruelty. A child of 11 or 12 years old. In my previous life, I hadn't even graduated from elementary school. But in Konoha, children of this age have to face battles and fights head-on. This shabby place is really hard to like. Yamanaka Kei complained in his heart. Having lived 2 lives, he is no longer at the age of cynicism. But when faced with things in life that he couldn't stand, he still couldn't help but ask himself, should he do something? Mencius said, if you are poor, you should take care of yourself, if you are rich, you should help the world. Before, he lacked the ability and could only go with the flow under the rules of the ninja world, not daring to overstep the line in the slightest. Now that we have a system. 500 taels for a plate of venison. Doesn't that mean we have to eat several D-rank tasks in one meal? Might Guy exclaimed, jumping forward on one hand while trying to count how much it would cost with the other hand. Don't count it. I heard someone say before that if you don't order anything particularly expensive, the average cost per person is 3,000 taels, which is about 3 times the cost of yakiniku Q. 3,000? A black shop. Might Guy was not a child from a rich family. When he heard that the average consumption per person was 3,000 taels, he was so scared that he staggered and almost fell headfirst to the ground. Yui Kurane looked at Yamanaka Kei, who hadn't spoken to the 3 of them for a while, and cautiously leaned over to take a look. Seeing that his face looked a little heavy, I thought that he didn't know the specific situation of Sanwiahu before, and just subconsciously wanted to treat his subordinates to something good. Now, after hearing what Genji and Shiranui said, he was also shocked by the price. The kind little girl finally chose to temporarily forgive Yamanaka Kei for almost scaring her to death. He opened his mouth cautiously to explain. Teacher Jing, I actually think ramen is delicious too. Hey? Ha 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 ha. Yamanaka Kei was stunned for a moment, then he understood what Yui Kurane meant and couldn't help laughing out loud. He raised his hand and rubbed the little girl's head. Seeing the little girl with a red face, wrinkled nose and shyly fixing her hair, he made up his mind. He really had to do something. It's not about the nonsense and worthless will of fire. It's not for the sake of peace in the ninja world which is impossible to exist. He simply felt that today's sunshine was very bright, the wind was very gentle, and the people he met were very lovely. Chapter 6. The food at San Minoi was more delicious than what Yui Kurane, Might Guy, and Shiranui Genma had imagined. And when I found out that Yamanaka Kei actually owns 40% of the shares in this store. Not only did they not have to pay for meals, but they could also receive a large dividend every month. The 3 little ones decisively chose to eat to their heart's content. Even Xiri Hong, who had the most elegant eating manners, was so bloated after wolfing down the food that she could hardly stand up straight. I sighed in my heart. She actually worried that a Konoha Jainin who had a bad personality and was willing to use ultimate level combination illusions on Genin was short of money. It turns out that she is too stupid and naive. Teacher Jing, when do we start the mission? After eating and drinking his fill, Genma Shiranui took the initiative to ask about the team's next plans. Upon hearing this, Yui Kurane and Might Guy looked at Yamanaka Kei with burning eyes. Among the 3-person team, Genma Shiranui and Might Guy have not taken any missions for a long time because Ebisu has switched to civilian work. With his pockets cleaner than his face, he lived a hard and simple life. Although Ziriong had worked in logistics for nearly a year and had a considerable amount of savings, she had never carried out many missions before being forced into the logistics team. She was also full of expectations for carrying out the missions. Facing the expectant eyes of the 3 little ones, Yamanaka Kei, who was still waiting to see the system's explosion rate by completing the career mission, naturally would not delay. We can go to the mission issuing office later. The footsteps of youth are about to start galloping again. Might Guy jumped up from his seat, looking very excited. But before he could show off his signature moves, he bent his waist slightly, holding his full stomach. Seeing Shiranui Genma's speechless look, he added again without changing his expression. Youth will always have some occasional flaws, but don't worry. I will definitely give 200% of my enthusiasm and sweat to the task this afternoon. Yes, Shiranui Genma sighed. Even though they had been teammates for 2 full years, he still couldn't do anything about Might Guy's personality. Zihai Hong held her chin with one hand and looked at the 2 noisy people with a smile. I always feel that my future life will be very interesting. In Nakayoshi village, more than 10 kilometers southwest of Konoha village. A huge wild boar weighing over 1,000 pounds, like a mobile fortress, with more than 10 kunai sticking out of its body that were only an inch deep in the flesh. Its eyes were red as it rushed around like crazy. The walls and simple traps along the way were smashed to pieces, as if they were made of paper. Might Guy and Genma Shiranui kept feinting from the front to create opportunities for Kurenai to perform spells behind them. After trying several times. Just now, Xiri Hong used the magic "this is not" technique to confuse the wild boar's vision. Successfully lured the wild boar into the trap just designed. The wild boar fell into the deep pit and was pierced through the body by more than 10 steel forks erected in it. After roaring and struggling for more than 10 minutes, it slowly died. The three people, who were exhausted, wiped the sweat from their foreheads and breathed a sigh of relief. Yamanaka Kei, who stood on the roof and observed the entire process without taking any action, wrote down the strengths and weaknesses of the three people in the mission one by one. Just as I was about to make a few comments, a familiar system prompt sounded in my mind. Ding, the D-level professional task "Eliminate the wild boars that destroy the farmland" has been completed, and the reward is none. Complete the career mission for the first time, get 2 entry extraction opportunities, 1 entry gift opportunity. Yamanaka Kei paused slightly. However, he didn't expect that the system would determine that he had completed his professional mission just because he killed the wild boar and before he returned to Konoha to submit a report. And because it was the first time to complete a professional mission. You will get 2 chances to draw entries and 1 chance to give away. As for not receiving any reward for the normal D-level mission, it was also within Yamanaka Kei's expectations. Probability is a matter of luck. Moreover, the probability of various rewards is likely to be directly linked to the difficulty of the task. A D-level mission that takes an entire afternoon, and most of the time is spent on traveling, would be great if I could get rewards every time. I'm afraid that within a month, Yamanaka Kei will be able to pull the 6 Paths old man out of the Pure Land and beat him up. This broken system doesn't even have a detailed manual. Yamanaka Kei complained in his heart about the system's stupidity. Looking at the 2 opportunities to draw entries on the personal panel, I decisively chose to draw first. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the blue entry Memory Palace and the white entry Broken Skin and Tough Life. Memory Palace, blue. The combination of talent and training allows the brain to be well developed, and one can become proficient in using the Memory Palace method, which increases learning speed, reading ability, and memory. Fragile Skin and Tough Life, white. Before your physical strength reaches the Janin level, the probability of encountering a strong enemy increases, the probability of encountering a life and death crisis increases slightly, the probability of breaking through in battle increases slightly, and the probability of survival increases slightly. 1 blue and 1 white, that's fine. Yamanaka Kei looked at the detailed explanations of the 2 entries and directly chose to activate the entry Memory Palace. Whether it is studying or researching, memory is something that should be improved as much as possible. As for Crisp Skin and Tough Life, for him who has already passed the novice stage, it is really useless. Moreover, it is likely that only people like the chosen protagonist can withstand this effect during the novice period. Otherwise, no matter how high the probability of breakthrough and survival is, you will not be able to withstand the continuous emergence of powerful enemies and crises. It is detected that the blue entry Memory Palace and the green entry Know a Little Bit can be merged. Do you want to start the fusion? Fusion. Yamanaka Kei hesitated for a moment and then chose fusion. Although this is the first time I have experienced the fusion of terms, both terms are related to learning ability and memory. No matter how much they integrate, they shouldn't get cheated. A huge amount of memories suddenly boiled over in my mind, and countless images flashed by quickly like slides. Even the long-forgotten memories of when he was 4 or 5 years old in his previous life became extremely clear at this moment. Kindergarten, elementary school, junior high school, university. Countless huge and complex memories are stored in the Memory Palace in different categories. Among them, the memory of watching the Hokage Ninja anime and reading various related posts were stored separately. The memories of the previous life have been sorted out, and the memories of this life are unfolding like a scroll. Including those memories that were read from other ninjas' minds when he was in the analysis class, they were also stored completely. The boiling memories gradually calmed down. The system prompt sound also entered Yamanaka Kei's mind shortly afterwards. Fusion completed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the blue entry King of Ninja Realm. The King of Ninja World, blue. The perfect application of the Memory Palace method allows you to have a nearly unlimited memory. The vast memory of 2 lives allows you to know many life experiences, the secrets of the ninja world, and a variety of ninjutsu and secret techniques. It also improves your learning speed, speed reading ability, and memory. Damn! Why not just take off? Yamanaka Kei felt the clear memory in his mind, his eyes full of excitement. Chapter 7. For a time traveler, being familiar with the plot is the biggest advantage. And if you can remember some details in the plot, you can easily get things that ordinary people cannot get even after decades of hard work. It has been 19 years since Yamanaka Kei traveled to the Hokage world. Although at the beginning of the time travel, he recorded the plot that he could recall at that time in the form of pictographic pinyin. Even today, I still take it out and read it occasionally. But even at that time, what he could remember was very limited. It's more about the general direction of the plot, and it's difficult to get into the details of one thing. For example, he knows Shimura Dens once discovered the threat of Akatsuki and killed Yahiko, which directly led to Nagato's blackening. But he had completely forgotten how the scam happened and whether there were other people involved because he had watched the show so long ago. It looks like we'll be busy next. Yamanaka Kei had a smile that was hard to conceal on his face. The blue entry obtained this time is the King of Ninja World, although the name is a bit weird. But to him, its importance is even higher than the previous purple entry. As long as it is used properly, the benefits it brings are absolutely immeasurable. Teacher Jing, the client, is here. Xiri Hong stood in front of the trap pit, standing on tiptoe and raising her hand while shouting from afar. The girl's clear cry pulled Yamanaka Kei back from his beautiful fantasy. Jump down from the roof. Yamanaka Kei came to the huge trap pit and asked the client to sign and confirm the task letter. The 3 little ones who had just been called back to retrieve the kunai, steel wire, shuriken and other ninja tools they had just used, set out on their return journey. 4 figures quickly shuttled through the dense forest, following the shortest path and heading straight towards Konoha. Taking advantage of the gap on the road, Yamanaka Kei also told the 3 about the mistakes that occurred and the shortcomings that were exposed in the previous mission. First of all, the biggest mistake in this mission. After meeting the mission client, the 3 did not even carefully ask the client for relevant information. He just hurriedly asked the client to take him to meet the target of the mission. Secondly, when he first saw the target, he did not observe it carefully, which led to a misjudgment of the target's defense capability. The wild boar had many shallow scratches on its body. Judging from the traces, the damage was probably caused by villagers using axes and bows and arrows. The adult villagers work in the fields all year round, so the power of the axes they swing and the arrows they shoot is not weak. In this way, we can roughly judge the target's defense capability and formulate a more appropriate combat plan. This way, there wouldn't be a situation where the 3 people stabbed the wild boar with kunai for a long time, not only failed to kill it, but also angered it and almost got injured. Finally, a frontal assault is not the only means by which a ninja can accomplish his mission. There are more than 10 powerful hallucinogenic smoke bombs in the ninja tool bag on Genma Shiranui's waist, and there is also a powerful anesthetic in the small medical bag on Kurene's waist. Even on the barren hills outside Nakayoshi village, there are some deadly poisonous weeds and insects. They are not ordinary villagers who have survived for generations by relying on the experience of their ancestors and who don't even know how to read. Catch 2 poisonous insects and pick 2 poisonous weeds. Simply mix it according to the recipe taught in the ninja school textbook. As long as it is used properly, it can knock down not only a wild boar but also an elephant. Yui Kurene, Might Guy, and Shiranui Genma were all embarrassed by what Yamanaka Kei said. The excitement of successfully completing the task also disappeared completely. When Yamanaka Kei saw the depressed expressions of the 3 little ones, he realized that teaching children cannot be done by just criticizing them without praising them. Then he changed the subject and talked about the advantages of the people just mentioned. It is worth affirming that you all have excellent team awareness and always trust your teammates. Even if it is the first time to cooperate in a mission, you have fully utilized everyone's strengths. He's also good at adapting to changing circumstances. After realizing that his original plan wasn't going to work, he used the dried-up reservoir to quickly build a deep pit trap. Finally, he knew to preserve the client's property and try to avoid additional losses during the mission, which is also commendable. Overall, I am, well, quite satisfied with your performance. Yamanaka Kei gave the final verdict with a smile. Yet, the 3 of them high-fived each other in celebration, and at the same time, they secretly decided that they must perform better in the next mission. There was a commotion for a while. The thoughtful Yui Kurane once again turned the topic back to this mission. Teacher Jing, if the person who carried out the mission was you during your genin period, what would you do? Of course, one ninjutsu killed it in 1 second. What? Genma's fire style just now only produced the smell of roasted pig hair. How could Genin's ninjutsu kill such a big wild boar in seconds? I am a member of the Yamanaka clan. It is not difficult to control a wild boar to jump into a river and drown, or to control it to hit a mountain and commit suicide. This ninjutsu is too cunning. Ha ha ha, the four of them laughed and joked all the way until night fell and the sky turned pitch dark, and they finally managed to make it back to Konoha. After having dinner at the newly opened Ichiraku ramen restaurant and setting a meeting time for tomorrow, the four of them went their separate ways and returned home. We walked all the way to the Yamanaka clan's land. Yamanaka Kei saw the lights in his home from a distance, and a question mark slowly appeared in his head. With one hand forming a seal, the Yamanaka clan's perception ninjutsu unfolded. Feel the huge chakra in the room as vast as the scorching sun, and the terrifying aura under the chakra that is difficult to conceal. He instantly determined the identity of the person in the room. Just this unique chakra. Who else could it be if not Nine Tails Jinkriki Uzumaki Kushina, also known as the Blood Red Pepper? Bang click, there was a crash in the house. Uzumaki Kushina, who sensed the spying of the perception ninjutsu, opened the door and jumped onto the wall like a gust of wind without even putting on his shoes. His eyes instantly locked onto Yamanaka Kei, who was standing at the end of the street. Jing, I finally waited for you. The words were full of excitement and resentment, just like the heroine in a tragedy who finally met the hero after going through untold hardships. It made Yamanaka Kei shiver violently. I almost couldn't help but turn around and run away. Oh my god! Little Pepper actually speaks in this tone. Rustling sounds came from the houses on both sides of the street. Apparently, the tribesmen who were bored late at night heard the noise and were quietly preparing to eat the melon in secret. Yamanaka Kei covered his face with one hand and quickly performed the body flicker technique. He pulled Kushina directly into the house. As the door closed, the 5-way anti-sensing barrier in the room was instantly activated. He was sure that if he moved even a little slower, the clan would spread the news tomorrow about what he and the Uzumaki orphan had to say. Hey! Kushina staggered into the house. Watching Yamanaka Kei open the barrier with extremely smooth movements. In just 3 words, the tone of voice changed from confusion to doubt, and then from doubt to surprise. He subconsciously put his hands in front of his chest, looking frightened. There was a hint of excitement and anticipation in his eyes. IFG. When Yamanaka Kei saw this action, a mouthful of blood got stuck in his throat, unable to go up or down. Chapter 8. Hey! What's with that disgusted and disdainful expression of yours? Kushina, who was drunk, put down her arms in front of her chest in dissatisfaction. Even though she is usually carefree, she is still a beautiful girl with a good figure and good looks, okay? Is it really appropriate to show such an expression? How much did you drink? Yamanaka Kei simply skipped over Kushina's question. Looking at the messy living room, I felt as speechless as I could be. The coffee table, which was originally empty, clean, and tidy, was now filled with instant ramen buckets with only some soup left and scattered wine bottles. The sofa and the floor were littered with open magazines and randomly placed ninjutsu scrolls. A few cute puppet dolls that he usually used to practice ninjutsu were also beaten up and thrown aside. Well, just a little bit. Kushina also noticed the dirty and messy living room at this time. The originally hazy drunkenness was almost completely sobered up. He shrank his neck and stood where he was, cautiously peeking at Yamanaka Kei's expression. She muttered to herself, she didn't do anything today, why was the living room so messy? No matter what worries you in the future, drink less alcohol. This stuff is not good for your health. Yamanaka Kei saw Kushina's uneasy expression, and the words on the tip of his tongue eventually turned into concern. Having known each other for many years, he knew Kushina's character better than anyone else. This girl usually doesn't drink, but she drank so much today. It was probably because of the conflict with Danzo in the morning and something else that happened in the afternoon that she couldn't accept. Make the way seal with one hand. Yamanaka Kei performed the mind-transforming clone technique and the mind-transforming puppet technique, which is the advanced mind-transforming puppet clone technique. 5 humanoid puppets, each more than a foot tall, stood up from the ground together and hurriedly cleaned up the messy living room. The originally dirty and messy coffee table was quickly cleaned up. The magazines and scrolls that were scattered around were also sorted and put back to their original places. Kushina, barefoot, trotted along, following the puppet to clean up. Her attentive look makes people who don't know her think she is really hard-working. Okay, tell me, what do you want me to do? Yamanaka Kei looked at Kushina, who was trying to please him with a sweet smile on her face, and he really didn't know what to do with her. Hehehe Jingjun, can you lend me 8 million taels? Kushina's tone and demeanor were extremely well behaved and shy, not a bit of the blood-red chili she was during the day. No, you just collected the rent in July, and it's been less than 3 months. Have you spent it all? Yamanaka Kei looked incredulous when he heard about borrowing money. When Uzumaki Mito passed away, he left Kushina a very rich inheritance. The rent collected from the dozen or so shops on Konoha's commercial street alone could guarantee her a life of luxury for a long time. How on earth did this girl end up in a situation where she needed to borrow money? I lent it to Tsunade-san. UBD, you are so brave. I can't help it. Sister Tsunade cried and said she had no food to eat, no clothes to wear, and she was about to die. Do you believe what she says? Oh my Jinkun Shimura-dan's that bad guy is simply not a human being. He said that the damage to the Jainin standby station had nothing to do with him and asked me to bear all the reconstruction costs alone. The third generation also sided with him. Kushina, in a crying tone, skipped the matter of lending money to Tsunade and began to accuse the culprit Shimura-dans. As a result, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen also received a lot of criticism. The tone of her voice was as if the collapse of Jainin Standby Center today had nothing to do with her. Okay, it's only 8 million, right? It would be better if there was a little more so I could keep it for dinner. You, after collecting rent, remember to save some money for emergencies, and plan your daily expenses. Also, when you meet someone who asks you to borrow money, make sure you first judge whether the other party is borrowing money for serious matters. Yamanaka Kei stood up from the sofa with a helpless look on his face. As he spoke, he took out 2 deposit slips from the Fire Country Bank from the secret compartment in the study. Kushina knelt obediently in front of the coffee table. Maybe it was the alcohol. Listening to the nagging in my ears, I couldn't help but think of Grandma Uzumaki Mito. He took over 2 deposit certificates with a deposit of 5 million each in a daze. Seeing her dazed look, Yamanaka Kei raised his hand and waved it in front of her eyes, then reminded her again. Save the extra 2 million for good food and some nice clothes. If you encounter a situation like today again, don't take it out on yourself. As the old saying goes, it's better to torture others than to embarrass yourself. Yamanaka Kei had just finished talking for a few words when he saw tears as big as beans in Kushina's eyes falling down her cheeks. He was not very good at dealing with such things, so he quickly took a tissue from the tissue box and handed it over. Looking at Kushina, who was crying with tears in her eyes, Yamanaka Kei sighed and racked his brains to think of a way to comfort the other person. If you're really angry, how about we sneak up on Danzo and hit him with a club? I'm quite familiar with the Roots fighting style. If it's not convenient for you to come out, I can secretly help you deal with him. Wow, I miss Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Kushina, who was originally just crying silently, couldn't hold back her tears anymore after being comforted by Yamanaka Kei. The grievances in my heart and the longing for my loved ones burst out all at once. He raised his little face and cried loudly. His snot mixed with tears and he cried until his face turned into a clown. She hasn't heard these words of care for a long time since Grandma Mito left. Because of the identity of Nine Tails Jinkraki, she couldn't leave the village freely to carry out missions, nor could she live freely like a normal ninja. Every day I have to endure the almost ubiquitous looks of disgust and fear. Even some high-ranking officials in the village, led by Shimura-dans, would target her from time to time. The third generation would always just comfort her with a few words afterwards. What they always said most was to ask her to mature more, and that they were also doing it for the village. But it is clear that they are the ones who have always been causing trouble. If it is really for the sake of the village, why don't they restrain themselves a little? I'll go with you to the Senju old house. Yamanaka Kei asked tentatively. Kushina shook her head and asked while wiping away her tears. Kage, did you use any ninjutsu against Danzo today? Ah? No, why do you say that? Yamanaka Kei was slightly shocked but didn't show it on his face and started to act dumb skillfully. Humph. Liar. You can deceive others, but not me. I sensed it. When Danzo left, you had a flash of malice in you. Kushina's face was covered with tears and snot, but her eyes were curved into crescents in a smile. Wipe it off quickly, you are crying and laughing at the same time, it's so ugly. Yamanaka Kei's eyes twitched slightly, but he finally stopped denying it. He pulled out a tissue and smeared it directly on Kushina's face. Hehe Jing, it's nice to meet you. Chapter 9. Kushina's guess was confirmed. Knowing that it was Yamanaka Kei who vented her anger, she took a long while to stop crying. He sat down in a corner of the sofa with his knees hugged, feeling satisfied. Maybe it's because you drank too much, or because your emotions are going through a lot and your body is too tired. Kushina calmed down and soon felt drowsy. I'll go get you some hot bath water, and you can sleep in the guest room later. Yamanaka Kei saw Kushina nodding slightly with her eyes closed, then stood up and walked towards the bathroom. It took him time to heat up the bath water, and when he returned to the living room, Kushina was already curled up in a small ball on the sofa and asleep. Looking at the little girl, whose brows were still slightly furrowed and whose eyelashes were full of tears even when she was asleep, Yamanaka Kei sighed slightly, carried her into the guest room, covered her with a blanket, and then turned around to wash up. Half lying in the bathtub, I recalled everything that happened at the Jainin standby station this morning. Yamanaka Kei felt a little relieved after confirming that nothing was wrong. In the original work, it is clearly stated that the only people who can sense malicious intent are Uzumaki Mito and Uzumaki Naruto, who are Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Otherwise, during the Fourth Shinobi World War, White Zetsu's transformation technique would not have left the entire Shinobi Alliance helpless. Kushina obviously doesn't have the ability to treat Nine Tails like a pet fox and flatten or round it at will like Uzumaki Mito does. Nor did he reconcile with the Nine Tails and become a perfect Jinchuriki like Uzumaki Naruto did. She could vaguely sense the malicious intent, purely because she had snatched a large amount of chakra from Nine Tails after forcibly subduing them with adamant sealing chains. In addition, although she herself has not awakened Kagura's mind's eye, her perception ability is extremely sharp. When facing Shimura-dan's, the chakra in his whole body was running at high speed again. The collision of many coincidences led to the extremely accidental glimpse of a fleeting strong malice at the moment when Yamanaka Kei attacked Danzo. You should be more cautious in the future. Yamanaka Kei reflected on himself. Although as far as he knew, there was no other way for the ninja world to sense malicious intent, but who knew what other strange methods might be used. Just like the original book never said that Kushina could sense malice. Plot is often not everything. Be careful, you won't go wrong. Took a comfortable bath. Yamanaka Kei dug out some plot notes that he had written down in various codes, pinyin, and doodles at the beginning of his time travel. Comparing the many memory details recalled in the memory palace due to the fusion of the two entries. Resort the information that is useful to you bit by bit. It was not until the moon was at its highest point in the sky that he felt tired and went to bed with his clothes on. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse, and there was no conversation all night. The next morning, when Yamanaka Kei woke up, Kushina had already quietly left. Looking at the neatly folded bedding, he picked up the note under the teacup. I'm not sloppy at all. Oh also, Jing Jun, you have become much braver. You even dared to hug me secretly, asterisk small smile, big heart. Let Yamanaka Kei gain a good mood today. As Kushina said, he is indeed a lot bolder now than before the system was activated. In the past, he would never let Nine Tails Jinchuriki stay overnight. He would never say anything about hitting Shimura-dan's with a club. In his 19 years of living in Konoha, he knew how to avoid attracting the attention of those conspirators. If he had been braver, he must have been taken away by Shimura-dan's to be warned a long time ago. Yamanaka Kei curled his lips. He was very clear about his identity and what Kushina meant to Konoha. If he hadn't deliberately maintained a distance between the two of them, Danzo had already talked to him. But now, he wants to have a sweet love affair with the sweet and soft red-haired girl. If those three old guys Shimura-dan's, Udaten Koharu, and Mito Kaido Homura dare to cause trouble. It just so happened that in his previous life he was very interested in the so-called Ozaki Hakujo. In this life, he also learned the mind-turning technique, a secret technique that can control other people's bodies. Go to Hell Valley in the country of bears to experience wingsuit flying, go snowboarding on the top of a snowy mountain in the country of snow, and surf the tsunami in the country of the sea. If you think these places are too far away, the ropeless bungee jumping on Hokage Rock is also a good choice. Anyway, it's not him who will die, so why not just make him die? Why I kind of expect them to cause trouble sooner rather than later. Yamanaka Kei grinned and went out to the mission release office in a happy mood. I casually ate 2 skewers of meatballs and 2 rice balls in the commercial street to satisfy my stomach, which had started to rebel early. He wondered whether he should ask his clan to open a few breakfast shops in Konoha. While increasing the income for the elderly and weak in the tribe, it also brings a little culinary shock to the villagers of Konoha. I dare not say anything else. Things like soy milk, fried dough sticks, tofu pudding, steamed buns, sesame cakes, and mutton soup. Relying on the fusion of entries, he could still replicate most of the memories stored in the memory palace. All the way to the mission release office. After completing yesterday's mission, he handed over the signed letter from the client to the Jainin Narashikaku on duty. Received reward for yesterday's mission. Yamanaka Kei was about to see if there were any suitable low-level tasks. Narashikaku greeted him and called him to a small office on the side of the mission hall. Kei, are you getting used to being the team leader Jainin? Am I not used to being able to go back? That can't be done. I'm just saying hello casually. Just pretend you didn't hear it. If you have something to say, just say it. Yamanaka Kei and Narashikaku rolled their eyes. The Inoshika CH clans were originally as close as a family. They are only 1 year apart in age, and grew up together wearing open crotch pants, so they know each other's personalities very well. Beating around the bush and being polite is really not suitable for them. The 3 subordinates you brought with you were carefully selected by the Hokage-sama. Especially Kurane Ui. It would be best to accept her as your disciple and teach her well. Narashikaku carefully considered his words and gave a warning. The sunset is crimson. Well, the situation in the ninja world is not very stable right now. As supporters of the Hokage, are Inoshika CH clans. I understand. I will teach them seriously. Yamanaka Kei waved his hand with a bored look on his face. When he saw the team composition before, he actually guessed the purpose of 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Both Might Guy and Genma Shiranui have very clean family backgrounds, and they are both the kind of people who are willing to give for their teammates. The strengths of each person complement each other, and no one will feel uncomfortable getting along with each other. As the leader of the Jainin, he naturally belongs to the Hokage line because of his identity as a member of the Yamanaka clan. He is also good at illusion and family Yintan secret techniques, making him the most suitable person to teach Ui Kurane. It is obvious that Sarutobi Hiruzen wants to use Ui Kurane to trap Ui Shinku, quickly win the hearts of the grassroots ninjas, and prepare for a turbulent situation in the ninja world. As for Ebisu, who was transferred to the logistics teaching department, it's just a chess piece that is moved around at will in the name of leveraging one's special strengths. Although Yamanaka Kei does not like such operations, since he has enjoyed the benefits brought by the Yamanaka clan, there are always some things that he cannot avoid. All he could do was try to teach his 3 children equally. Chapter 10. Narashikaku had no doubts about Yamanaka Kei's political wisdom. After saying a few simple words, he took out a D-level task scroll that had been prepared long ago. Cleaning up the trash in the river swales. Yamanaka Kei looked at the task content on the scroll, thought about it and did not refuse. Compared with D-level tasks such as killing wild boars and driving away wild beasts, clearing the river is time-consuming and labor-intensive, and the corresponding rewards will be much higher. Now he still needs some time to organize the useful information in his mind. To maximize the advantage of knowing the plot well. This kind of task, where you can watch your subordinates work while you slack off, is perfect. Leave the mission posting place. Came to the meeting place agreed with the 3 little ones yesterday. After Yamanaka Kei distributed the rewards for yesterday's mission, the 3 people with happy faces went directly to the river depression downstream of the Minamiga River to continue their mission. Konoha's assigned mission acceptance mechanism is actually not friendly to ordinary ninjas. This can be seen from the fact that for a genin to take the Chunin exam, in addition to needing a Jainin recommendation, they only need 8 mission experiences. For most genins, the frequency of missions is actually very low. Part of the reason is, of course, that the number of commissions cannot fully support Konoha's huge ninja base. But the main reason is the imbalance in resource allocation. In order to strengthen his rule and authority, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen firmly controls the right to review, distribute, and assign tasks. The reason is to let ninjas with different abilities take on tasks of corresponding levels, thereby increasing the success rate of tasks and reducing casualties. Those who are close to the Hokage will naturally receive high-quality missions, and the frequency of missions is extremely high. For those who don't get along with the Hokage, it's considered good if they don't get any missions. But being assigned several difficult and dangerous missions is really fatal. And there are some genin who have been unable to be promoted to genin for many years and some marginal ninjas with low presence. There are often situations where I don't get a single task for a month and it becomes difficult to make a living. Like Yamanaka Kei. You can take on a task whenever you want, and you can choose the task independently to a certain extent. That is the treatment only the most loyal descendants of the Hokage can receive. Since Kurane Yui had spent most of her ninja career working in the logistics team, she didn't have any major feelings about this. But Might Guy and Genma Shiranui have truly experienced the difficulty of having no missions to complete. So when Yui Kurane was worried about the water surface that was full of garbage, Might Guy and Genma Shiranui have rolled up their sleeves and are ready for a big fight. Before the mission begins, I'll give you a little gift. Yamanaka Kei quickly formed seals with his hands, and then slapped out 3 times in succession, accurately hitting the abdomens of the 3 people. Sealing technique, heavy sealing of limbs. A pitch-black curse seal shaped like an uzumaki quickly appeared on the abdomens of the 3 people, and several sealing chains extended to their limbs. An invisible pressure swept over the 3 people. Might Guy, who had the strongest physical fitness, stumbled and quickly supported his knees with both hands. As for Genma Shiranui and Kurane Yui, they simply lay down on the ground. The heavy limb seal, as the name suggests, is a seal that can impose heavy pressure on the body. It requires physical strength and chakra to be used in sync to counter it. Once you have fully adapted to the seal, your physical strength, mental power and chakra volume will improve significantly. So, come on, boys. Yamanaka Kei, with a wicked smile on his face, explained the purpose of the so-called small gift. A brand new way of carrying weights? The passion of youth has been ignited. Oh my! Might Guy felt the gravity all over his body, but instead of feeling any distress, he looked extremely excited. Amidst the howling sounds of ghosts and wolves, he began to try punching and kicking repeatedly, adapting to the seal on his body. Genma Shiranui glanced at the already lively Might Guy, silently forced himself to get up from the ground, and slowly began to move his hands and feet. How can you give a gift like this? Yui Kurane, who almost bit off a bite of fresh soil, was furiously complaining about the bad taste of her team leader Janin in her heart. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit. If she hadn't reacted quickly, she would have bitten into the rotten soil mixed with who knows how much garbage. Too bad her beautiful girl image was almost ruined. The tools for clearing the river are in the cabin over there, so let's start the mission. Warm reminder, treading water in a sealed state requires higher chakra control. Yamanaka Kei watched the 3 people gradually adapt to the sealed state, and then directly announced the start of the mission. He used the body flicker technique, found a big tree upwind, and half lay on the trunk to continue sorting out the plot information. Due to the terrain, the river depressions in this area gather a large amount of domestic waste. Calculated based on the working speed of ordinary genin, it would take at least 4 to 5 days to completely clean up this area. In addition, the heavy seals on the 3 little ones' limbs seriously slowed down their work speed. It will take at least a week to clean it up. Plop plop! Yamanaka Kei had just picked up the scroll and pen when the sound of 2 drops of water reached his ears. Looking at Might Guy and Genma Shiranui who were climbing out of the sewage in a mess, he was in a good mood and began to focus on his own affairs. Konoha's root base. Wearing a full metal samurai helmet and a thick bandage on his forehead, Shimura Dan sat in a steel cage, looking at his subordinates in front of him with a gloomy expression. From yesterday morning till now, his head has been attacked 3 times for no apparent reason. The broken beams in the Jainin standby station, the falling ceiling in the root medical room, and the falling bricks in the office. If it weren't for his long experience in battle and quick reaction, I'm afraid that now one more name can be engraved on the memorial tablet. Danzo-sama, Orochimaru-sama wrote back saying that there is nothing wrong with your body, and if the accident you encountered is not due to probability, then it can only be some unknown secret technique. The root ninja carefully reported the results of Orochimaru's analysis. Shimura Dan's already gloomy face showed several blue veins. He was extremely dissatisfied with Orochimaru's answer, which was equivalent to saying nothing. He was silent for a moment before continuing to ask. Have you investigated Jinchuriki's itinerary from yesterday to today? Please review it, Master Danzo. Another root ninja presented a compiled surveillance record. Danzo opened the scroll and looked at it for a while, then silently thought about how to proceed with the next plan. Yesterday he provoked Nine Tails Jinchuriki by asking for the Uzumaki clan's secret technique. The biggest purpose is to see the attitude of the ninja clans such as Inoshika Ch, Kurama, Inyazuka, Abarame, Hyuga, etc. towards the root. Regardless of whether they saw through his purpose or not, the Inyazuka, Abarame, Hyuga and other families all behaved very tactfully. But Inoshika Ch, Kurama. I stayed overnight and left the next day with a large amount of money. Why did I open an anti-sensing barrier? It's... Boom. Countless thoughts flashed through Denzo's mind. Just thought of half of it. A stone the size of a pigeon egg accurately avoided the cage and hit his steel helmet. The already painful head felt a piercing pain. Several root ninjas crouching in front of Denzo lowered their heads. And Denzo's little remaining patience was completely crushed by this stone. Investigate. List all the people who had contact with me yesterday. Investigate them one by one. You must find out who did this to me. Yes. Chapter 11. Yamanaka Kei was unaware of the chaos at the root and the rage of Shimura Dance. After sorting out the information in my mind for a day. As the sun set, Ui Kurane, Might Guy and Shiranui Genma were able to barely maintain their sealed state and move on water. He called the three of them and took them back to Konoha. He paid for the three people's dinner again, and after reminding them to bring lunch boxes the next day, he announced the disbandment. I watched the three little ones, already exhausted, dragging their heavy bodies back home. Yamanaka Kei formed a seal with one hand and quietly used the Yamanaka clan's secret perception technique to connect to the perception barrier that enveloped the entire Konoha. He praised in his heart that the ancestors of the Yamanaka clan had the foresight to leave a back door for the clan members when they set up the perception barrier for Konoha. By distinguishing the chakra aura, he quickly found the location of Uzumaki Kushina. Silently disconnect the connection with the perception barrier. Yamanaka Kei bought some sand dumplings, a specialty of the Land of the Wind, at a pastry shop in Konoha T Street, and then strolled towards the Jainin waiting station. All the way to the original Jainin waiting station. Yesterday's ruins, after being cleared of usable items and various materials, have been repaved and compacted with earth style. More than 20 workers and several genins were carrying various construction materials in an orderly manner under the command of the craftsman. Kushina, wearing a pure white safety helmet and holding a few construction drawings in his hands, stood in an open space nearby to supervise the work in a serious manner. Seeing Yamanaka Kei coming with snacks, she trotted over to meet him. Raising her dirty palms, she smiled like a little fox stealing fish, and opened her little mouth, signaling Yamanaka Kei to feed her. Ah, what are you looking at with the blueprint? Yamanaka Kei chuckled, picked up a sandball and stuffed it into Kushina's mouth. Kushina, who was fed, smiled so hard that her eyes narrowed. Chewing the soft, salty, and fragrant sand dumpling in her mouth, she spread out the drawing in her hand with a proud look on her face. Let me show you. I designed it. How is it? You designed it? Who drew it? I dictated and asked others to draw it. Hokage-sama agrees. I paid for it, why does he disagree? That makes sense. Yamanaka Kei looks like an ice cream cone, with 9 walls that rise in a spiral and converge at one point. Try to understand how third-generation leader Sarutobi Hiruzen agreed to build it according to this design. The bright red color is basically the same as the color of the Hokage building. Apart from the somewhat unconventional appearance of the building, there is nothing wrong with it at first glance. If this thing loses some color, it will look like a pile of poop. Third generation maybe, or, possibly. Do you think this looks a bit like a flame, which represents the will of fire? What is the will of fire? You know what, it's true. Can you give me an evaluation? Kushina's sparkling eyes were full of anticipation. Faced with such an expression, Yamanaka Kei naturally would not say anything to spoil the mood. It has a good meaning. It should look like the symbol of the Uzumaki clan when viewed from above. The 9 spirals not only allude to your name, but also indicate the identity of 9 tails Jinchuriki. It's a very clever idea. However, 9 tails must be cursing in the sealed space. Carefully analyze Kushina's design intentions. Yamanaka Kei made some of these points while also making a little joke. The main focus is on maximizing the emotional value. Hehe Jing, it turns out you understand me the best. Kushina nodded repeatedly and unfolded the drawing to its maximum size facing the setting sun. She wants to leave her own mark in Konoha. No matter whether you are good or bad, disgusting or fearful in the eyes of others. She is who she is, Uzumaki Kushina. The second 9 tails Jinchuriki after Uzumaki Mito. Yamanaka Kei looked at Kushina, whose eyes were as bright as stars and whose smile reflected the sunset. She seemed to be glowing. I secretly decided to discuss with my colleagues in the logistics department and increase the building maintenance fee of the Jainin standby station. Don't let it fade. Otherwise, he was afraid that Kushina would not be able to bear the shock after seeing it. Swish, the sound of body flicker technique breaking through the air was heard. A ninja wearing a mask and Anbu standard combat uniform appeared less than 2 meters away from Yamanaka Kei. This distance, which was full of threats for a ninja, made him frown slightly. The Anbu are a special force directly commanded and led by the Hokage. They have been screened through various levels and their loyalty to the village and the Hokage is unquestionable. Because of this, the attitudes they express when carrying out their missions largely reflect the attitudes of the Hokage himself. In the past, no Anbu had ever shown such a threatening attitude towards him. Yamanaka Kei, the Hokage has ordered you to come to the Hokage's office immediately. There is an important mission for you to perform. Receive. Yamanaka Kei nodded in agreement and handed the bag of snacks to Kushina. Then I will go to Hokage-sama first. Well, be careful along the way. Kushina took the bag with a somewhat stiff expression. The relationship that I have been looking forward to for many years finally got some response. She was just about to plan and put into practice the little love tips she had asked Mikoto for. As a result, that damn old man from third generation comes out to mess things up again. That BD, can't he bear to see Jinkriki having a sweet love? Damn it. I'm going to complain to Sister Tsunade. Let Sister Tsunade smash up that old BD from third generation's office. Don't worry. By the way, I'll ask you to take care of my 3 new disciples. Yamanaka Kei saw that Kushina was in a bad mood, so he decisively chose to push the 3 little ones out to help her relieve her boredom. On one side are the powerful Konoha Genin, who can relax by bullying the weak and teaching them. On one side are the Konoha Genins who are eager to improve their strength and don't mind enduring hardships. Perfect match. Say it's no problem. Kushina nodded vigorously, feeling very grateful for Yamanaka Kei's trust. Yamanaka Kei smiled and waved his hand, then turned and sprinted in the direction of the Hokage building. Anbu, who was in charge of the communication, waited until he started to move before following him. This behavior, which was almost like surveillance, almost confirmed the not-so-good guess in Yamanaka Kei's mind just now. As people get older, do they really become more sensitive? It shouldn't be the case. Didn't Kushina just stay at his house for one night? They still sleep separately. I haven't done anything yet, why is the reaction so intense? That's not right. Last night, in order to prevent his tribesmen from using the perception ninjutsu 8 trigrams, he seemed to have been keeping an anti-perception barrier open? Depend on. The third generation wouldn't think that he and Kushina have developed to the point of swinging big mushrooms. Yamanaka Kei was stunned for a moment. After figuring out the whole thing, I didn't know whether to say that I was careless or continue to blame third generation for making a fuss out of nothing. Chapter 12. Shimura Dance? The head was wrapped like a mummy, with only the eyes and mouth exposed. Wearing a samurai helmet in a hospital gown, his resentment was about to turn into something substantial. It should be Shimura Dance, right? Yamanaka Kei had a look of surprise in his eyes and almost didn't dare to recognize him. He really didn't expect that in just one day, Danzo would be turned into such a mess because of the black entry. But when he saw the Anbu ninja who had been monitoring him all the way walked up and stood behind Danzo, he felt that the effect of this black entry was still a little lacking. Spicy BD. Why didn't the beam at the Jainin waiting post just crush the old thief to death? That BD just now was actually a Gen ninja. Shimura Dance, this old thief is the same. He makes his subordinates wear the same clothes as Anbu. He kept saying Hokage's orders. What? You also know that without Sarutobi Hiruzen, no one will pay attention to you? Jing, Elder Danzo just sent me a report that Tsunagakure and Kirigakure have been having frequent conflicts in the southern part of the tea country recently. The number of casualties on both sides is still increasing. There is a tendency to expand the conflict. In order to get accurate information, I hope you can go there. Sarutobi Hiruzen, with a pipe between his lips, raised his hand and threw a scroll to Yamanaka Kei. Single-player mission. Yamanaka Kei glanced at Shimura Dance who was sitting on the sofa, then lowered his head to read the information on the scroll. Sarutobi Hiruzen's words made it very clear. This intelligence scroll was brought by Shimura Dance, and it was the other party who asked him to carry it out. As the Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen judged the authenticity and importance of the mission and felt that he, who was from the Yamanaka clan and had served in the analysis class, was indeed the most suitable candidate, so he called him over. Only Yekang? Scorch-style ninja Yekang? Yamanaka Kei's eyes twitched slightly when he looked at the name on the intelligence scroll. Scorch-style Yekara is one of the young generation of signature powerhouses that has emerged in Tsunagakura in the past 2 years. With his Scorch-style bloodline limit, he made many Kirigakura ninjas lose their temper and gained a great reputation. Not to mention Yamanaka Kei, who has read the original work. Any ninja who often goes out of the village on missions would know her name. This is a single-player mission. He needs to think more about whether the third generation has colluded with Denzo and is ready to attack him. After all, he has been consciously hiding his incompetence since he joined the analysis class. The combat power displayed is only slightly stronger than that of the civilian Jainin who lacks basic skills. Facing Yekang, who is famous in the ninja world, head-on is basically like giving yourself up. The other party is quite famous. It's too dangerous for you to go alone. I found a partner for you. Just as Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, there was another knock on the office door. After getting the agreement, Namikaze Minato opened the door and walked in. After seeing Yamanaka Kei standing in the office, he couldn't help but smile from his serious face. Minato? He's such a reassuring teammate. Yamanaka Kei also had a smile on his face. The suspicion and distrust that he had felt towards Sarutobi Hiruzen had mostly dissipated. Namikaze Minato's strength is obvious to all. After mastering the Flying Thunder God technique of second Hokage Senju Tobirama, his mobility is among the best in the entire ninja world. Not to mention Yekang alone, even if they encounter a large-scale sand shinobi army. The two of them could also retreat calmly. Jing, it looks like we're going to fight side by side again. Namikaze Minato looked a bit nostalgic, obviously thinking about the time they carried out the mission together. The two grew up together, entered the ninja school together, and graduated together to become ninjas. Although they were not assigned to a team upon graduation, they had worked together on countless missions before Yamanaka Kei entered the analysis class and had already developed a tacit understanding. If you want to reminisce about the past, you can talk about it slowly after you set off. Minato, let Jing explain the details of the mission to you. Time is running out, so you should set off immediately after you are ready. Sarutobi Hiruzen urged the two. After the two received the order and left the Hokage's office, they turned to look at Shimura Dans, who had been sitting on the sofa in silence. I've said it before. I watched Jing grow up. He's always been very sensible. It's impossible that he was the one who attacked you in secret. Even if it wasn't him, his contact with Nine Tails Jinchuriki was too close. The power of Nine Tails should not be influenced and controlled by the ninja clan. Shimura Dans lightly pressed the chakra sensing seal on his palm with his fingertips, and his already sinister eyes became even more fierce. The curse seal on his palm is the forbidden technique developed by second Hokage Senju Tobirama. Its sensitivity even exceeds that of today's most advanced medical equipment. The curse seal just now had no effect on Yamanaka Kei, proving that there is no chakra residue related to Yamanaka Kei in his body. Although he eliminated one suspect directly, further narrowing the scope of his suspicion, he really hoped that Yamanaka Kei was the one who murdered him. Take Yamanaka Kei's relationship with the Inoshika CH clan leaders, and his ambiguous attitude with Nine Tails Jinchuriki. This person is of great use to Gen. Sarutobi Hiruzen was not a worm in Shimura Dan's stomach, he just thought he was really concerned about Nine Tails Jinchuriki's problem. After pondering for a moment, he weighed the pros and cons. The possible impact of Kushina marrying into the Yamanaka clan was also evaluated. He spoke again to comfort his old friend. Denzo, feelings are something you can't force, just like you and Koharu, I mean, Kushina will eventually get married and have children, and Konoha will also need the next Jinchuriki in a few decades. If a female Jinchuriki gives birth, the seal's strength will drop significantly, which will be too dangerous for the village. Although the Whirlpool country has been destroyed, there are still many Uzumaki bloodlines in the ninja world. Kushina is a ninja of Konoha, not a ninja of the root. Moreover, the problem of Jinchuriki was made very clear by Lord Mito at the beginning. You should be well aware of the consequences if a Jinchuriki develops psychological problems. That's you, his Shimura Dan snorted again, and was about to retort something in agitated mood, but he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. Calm yourself down a bit, and we can talk slowly if you have anything to say. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo, who snorted twice and almost sent him away, and his blood pressure, which was about to soar, quickly dropped. He secretly felt lucky that he was not the one being ambushed. Not to mention the 6 head attacks a day. Just these 2 quarrels make my head hurt so much that I can't stand it. Who can stand it? Call the next person. Danzo held the helmet on his head with one hand and took deep breaths to ease the severe pain in his head. His hatred towards the person who plotted against him reached its peak at this moment. He didn't even have time to think about the Jinchuriki issue, he just wanted to find out who did this to him as soon as possible. But just as he finished speaking, a slight sound of wooden boards cracking came from somewhere. Danzo, who had encountered various accidents one after another, was already like a frightened bird. He jumped up from the sofa the moment the sound was heard, and rushed out of the Hokage's office through the open window with a body flicker technique. Gah! Screams filled with pain and anger came from outside the window. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Danzo, who was crying and holding his head, and the crow that was hit to death, and for a moment he didn't know who to sympathize with. Chapter 13. After Shimura Danzo was rushed for treatment, peace returned to the Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood by the office window, looking at the sunset in the sky, and refilled his burnt pipe with new tobacco. Smoke began to rise, making it difficult to see his expression clearly. Danzo's words just now did remind him. The Whirlpool Kingdom has been destroyed. Konoha also lost its most stable source of Jinchuriki. If anything happens to Uzumaki Kushina, it will be difficult to find a suitable Jinchuriki quickly. The instructions of Uzumaki Mito-sama are still ringing in my ears. Overly suppressing Jinchuriki's emotional needs will only cause Jinchuriki's instability, which will definitely do more harm than good. Childbirth for female Jinchuriki is indeed a difficult hurdle. The inheritance method of mother-to-son inheritance is prone to some unpredictable situations. If Konoha had a few more Uzumaki who were grandmasters of the sealing technique to assist during the birth of the Jinchuriki, it would not only guarantee the stability of the seal to the greatest extent possible, but also ensure that Nine Tails would not have any problems. If something unexpected really happened, Konoha would not be unable to find the next Jinchuriki. Besides, war. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed deeply. Nowadays, the friction between the various ninja villages is becoming more and more intense, and perhaps war will break out soon. The Land of Fire, with its richest resources, most fertile land, and most prosperous economy, has always been the main target of attack by ninja villages from various countries. Today's Konoha has not yet completely emerged from the shadow of the Second Ninja World War. If the moment really comes to an end, the power of Jinchuriki may become indispensable. It would take a normal ninja team about 2 days to travel from Konoha to the southern coastline of the Land of Fire. It will take about 2 more days to reach the mission destination by sea from the southern coastline. Because the mission intelligence this time is very time sensitive. So Namikaze Minato, who was full of sense of responsibility, unconsciously sped up as soon as he stepped out of the Konoha gate. Even Yamanaka Kei knew the current situation of Tsunagakuer. There was no way that the search for the missing third Kazekage could be stopped. But he couldn't explain this to Namikaze Minato. So I could only follow along helplessly and hurry on my way. Both of them are real Konoha Jonin. While maintaining enough physical strength to deal with sudden battles, skip the rest time at night and rush on the road. When you are thirsty, drink some water, when you are hungry, eat some food pills. At around 9 o'clock the next evening, they arrived at the southern port of the Fire Country. Board a small sailboat at the port that is used exclusively by Konoha shinobi. After confirming that the Captain Yamato and his 2 sailors were fine, Yamanaka Kei set up various warnings and traps inside and outside the room. Namikaze Minato summoned 2 small toads from Mount Maiboku, one inside and one outside to keep watch. The 2 people, who were already quite exhausted, finally fell asleep peacefully and quickly recovered. The not-so-strong wind and waves did not cause the ship to rise and fall too violently. The slight shaking not only does not make people feel uncomfortable, but also has a certain effect of helping them sleep. Yamanaka Kei slept until noon and woke up to the noisy cries of seabirds. Just took care of my personal hygiene. Namikaze Minato, who has the temperament of a good wife and mother, brought 2 extra large bowls of seafood rice porridge. The seafood that had just been caught was processed very cleanly, without any fishy smell, but instead with a light sweetness. The rice soaked in soup leaves a lingering fragrance in your mouth. Such delicious meals naturally received high recognition from Yamanaka Kei. The little son felt a little embarrassed by the praise, and smiled shyly, her virtuous wife temperament becoming even stronger. After eating and drinking their fill, the two of them casually sat cross-legged on the deck of the sailboat. It was a rare opportunity to enjoy the leisure time during the mission. Jing, I heard that you and Kushina are planning to get married. Namikaze Minato put one hand over his eyes and looked out at the boundless sea. The sudden words left Yamanaka Kei with a lot of questions in his head. I really can't understand where these rumors came from. He hasn't even started dating yet, so how come others say he's preparing to get married? Where did you hear this? Ah? Yesterday morning at the temporary Jainin standby station, Brother Choza said that Kushina had insufficient savings, so she used the 10 million wedding gift you gave her to compensate the Jainin standby station. Isn't that right? How did Dingzo know that I gave Kushina 10 million? Ahem. Narasozaku senpai, who is in charge of Jainin standby affairs, said that your name is on the deposit slip. That doesn't prove it's a wedding gift. Brother Hai said that you two have been living together and stay together at night. Is it appropriate for you to do 8 trigrams all day long? Yamanaka Kei suddenly felt that there was nothing wrong with him being targeted by Danzo. Look at what has been spread within Konoha. Also, why does he feel that all the Jainin in Konoha are damn bad? Doing nothing every day but eating melons? Others are fine, but that BD Yamanaka Hai actually brought him and Kushina out for 8 trigrams? Is this the content of 8 trigrams? Are you really not afraid of suspicion from higher UPS at all? Etc. Yamanaka Kei thought of Narashikaku, the guy with an extremely high IQ, and reacted instantly. I'm afraid that guy had already guessed the thoughts of the Konoha high-level officials, which is why he let the members of the Inoshika CH tribes deliberately spread these 8 trigrams. This is also a disguised way of telling Sarutobi Hiruzen that they have no other thoughts. Those guys were silently clearing the obstacles between him and Kushina. What a bunch of guys who love to worry about others. Ah ha ha ha, because we don't have anything to do in the Jainin standby station, so we just chat casually. Namikaze Minato laughed dryly and scratched his head a little embarrassedly. Have you really never felt Kushina's iron fist? Yamanaka Kei sighed helplessly. Although there is absolutely nothing wrong with the starting point of Yamanaka Hai and others, what if Kushina knew about this? She seems carefree and doesn't care about anything, but in fact she is very thin-skinned. Being teased like this. Well, I hope Hai and the others won't be beaten too badly. I really don't have that. Namikaze Minato smiled brightly when talking about this topic. He also has a good relationship with Kushina. Although there was a period of time when the girl listened to Yamanaka Kei's tricks and kept calling him Konoha's little boy girl, which bothered him a lot. But perhaps because of his kind personality, Kushina never raised her fist against him. Instead it was Yamanaka Kei. Because I have to tease Kushina from time to time, I am always chased and beaten. Is there a possibility, that Kushina felt that if she punched you, you would cry for a long time, and she might come back to comfort you, so she didn't hit you? Chapter 14. After looking at the scenery of the sea for a long time, people always feel boring. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato, except for the first day when I spent most of the day watching overseas with great interest. The rest of the time, they either talked about their new disciples or exchanged their experiences in ninjutsu. Occasionally, he would practice some moves and study strategies against the enemy. Minato is indeed an absolute genius. There are many entries on it. Even Yamanaka Kei, who has a system, was envious when he saw it. Insight into time and space, purple, super speed reaction, purple, seal control, blue, wisdom and ingenuity, blue, strong luck, blue, energy storage, blue, Yin Style Grandmaster, green, handsomeness, green. A total of 8 entries. Even 6 of them are talent type entries. He has a deep understanding of time and space, can clearly sense the fluctuations of time and space, and perfectly match various time and space ninjutsu. Super speed reaction enhances many attributes such as nerve reaction speed, body reaction speed, hand seal speed, chakra operation speed, and ninjutsu release speed. Wisdom and ingenuity enhance learning ability, tactical thinking, and the ability to develop and research ninjutsu. Strong luck directly increases chi luck, and stored energy increases chakra amount and recovery ability. The only thing that makes him slightly inferior to Yamanaka Kei is his handsomeness. That's it. If Minato doesn't become the 4th Hokage, who the hell will be? Yamanaka Kei couldn't help but feel envious every time he looked at Minato's entry. Not to mention anything else, just the insight into time and space was something that made him extremely precious. Which time traveler doesn't want to learn the Flying Thunder God technique? It's just a pity. Traveling to the Hokage world did not give him any superior gifts in time and space. His talent in time and space was only enough to barely use the summoning technique and storage seals, and he couldn't even begin to learn the Flying Thunder God technique. If it weren't for the hope of the system, he probably had completely given up the idea of learning the Flying Thunder God technique. 2.5 days passed by in a flash as Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato continued to discuss and exchange ideas. The weather at sea has been relatively stable these days. They arrived at the port town in the south of the Tea Kingdom half a day earlier than expected. It was noon. After the ship docked, the two men took off the Konoha forward protector for the sake of caution, and used the transformation technique to disguise themselves as ordinary carpenters. I was about to enter the town to gather information from some crowded places. 4 ninjas wearing mist shinobi forward protectors walked out of the town. The leader had waist-length orange hair that was meticulously groomed. He was about 2 meters and 5 centimeters tall and very sturdy. Plus the big knife same had behind him. Who else could it be if not Mist Shinobi, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Zigwashin Pufferfish Demon? Although the identities of the 3 people behind him, Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato, were not recognized, judging from their attire, they were most likely the elite among Mist Shinobi Anbu, or at least Jainin. Facing the Mist Shinobi ninja coming towards you, the 2 of them tacitly pretended to be timid and retreated to the side of the road in panic. They looked no different from normal civilians. The 4 members of Mist Shinobi did not notice anything unusual and walked right past the 2. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato saw Mist Shinobi and his group disappear in front of the town gate with a few leaps, so they did not rush to follow them, but went straight into the town. Under the influence of the governing philosophy of Second Mizukage Hojiki, Mist Shinobi began to advocate covert actions very early on. Even when the Third Mizukage came to power, this philosophy remained unchanged. When Mist Shinobi's ninjas are on the move, it is impossible for them to pass through the town so openly. This behavior is problematic no matter how you look at it. Sure enough, Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato had just entered the town's gate. More than a dozen civilians of both male and female, old and young, walked out from the streets and alleys one after another. The leader, a white-haired old woman who looked to be over 70 years old, said a few words to her subordinates and then waved her hand. These dozen people rushed to the north and south sides as quickly as arrows. It looked like they were preparing to outflank the Mist Shinobi from both sides. The old woman herself also chased after Mist Shinobi alone in the direction he left. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato saw this and could easily guess that it was a game between Mist Shinobi and Sand Shinobi. It is not known whether either party has any backup plans. The 2 men disguised as carpenters pretended to be scared and quickly entered the town. After many twists and turns, I found a remote alley that no one paid attention to. Yamanaka Kei formed seals with both hands and activated the Yamanaka clan's secret perception ninjutsu to the maximum. The chakra reaction within a radius of nearly 10 kilometers was instantly transmitted to his mind. There are quite a lot of people. Yamanaka Kei muttered, the seals in his hands changing. He used the mind-to-body technique again and transmitted what he perceived to Namikaze Minato. The recent frequent conflicts have apparently made both Sand Shinobi and Mist Shinobi angry. Lin Ling's total of more than 30 chakra reactions were not at all on the scale of normal border friction. As for Mist Shinobi, the 4 people they just saw, led by Zigwashin Puffer Demon, were obviously just responsible for luring the enemy. In the forest a few kilometers away, there were 16 people hiding in ambush. On the Sand Shinobi side, 1 person rushed straight into the encirclement, while 12 people surrounded it from the north and south sides, apparently preparing for a counter-encirclement. And inside the town, there seemed to be 4 chakra reactions. I don't know whether they are spies left by Sand Shinobi or backup plans left by Mist Shinobi. A conflict of this magnitude. Namikaze Minato frowned as he looked at the perception shared by Yamanaka Kei. The gunfight between nearly 40 people on both sides was no longer a simple hatred conflict between ninjas. Personnel transfers of this scale must be approved by the top leaders of each ninja village. Once the top leaders leave, it often means that the conflict between the 2 ninja villages has reached an irreconcilable point. There's no point in you worrying, just do our job. Yamanaka Kei didn't care too much about the conflict between Sand Shinobi and Mist Shinobi. He had known for a long time that war was bound to break out, and now he was only concerned about how the task should be completed and whether or not to mix in some private goods. Take the opportunity to interfere with the progress of the Third Ninja World War. Well, let's use tactic 2 and wait for the opportunity to enter the battlefield. Namikaze Minato nodded, temporarily suppressing his worries about the war and began to focus seriously on the current task. When the two were on the boat, they designed several tactics based on the characteristics of each other's ninjutsu. In the current situation, the second set of tactics, which can enter the battlefield at any time and evacuate quickly at any time, is undoubtedly the most appropriate. Good. Yamanaka Kei took out a small tube engraved with many sealing spells from his inner pocket. He opened the bottle cap, dipped a little of the blood sealed inside, and then formed seals with his hands to use the summoning technique. Unlike those cruel people in the ninja world who would bite their fingers or stab their palms with kunao at any time. Even though he had traveled through time for more than 10 years, he still couldn't be as cruel as those people and attack him without blinking an eye. Bang! Ga. Chakra's smoke rose, and 3 black crows flapped their wings and appeared in front of the two. Mind-to-body clone technique. Yamanaka Kei changed the hand seals in his hands, leaving enough energy to control his body, while his mind controlled the 3 crows at the same time. The 3 crows that were originally noisy and jumping around immediately stood still. Namikaze Minato took a step forward, closed his eyes and thought for a moment, then gently pressed his right hand on the crow's abdomen and engraved the Flying Thunder God spell. Although he has not yet reached the level of the original work where he engraved the Flying Thunder God technique at the moment of the battle with Obito. But in the presence of the techniques, he had already trained his speed of spatial transfer between techniques to the ultimate level. After the Flying Thunder God spell was engraved on the 3 crows, they flapped their wings and flew into the sky under the control of Yamanaka Kei, flying straight towards the place where Mist Shinobi was ambushing. Before he could see the situation on the battlefield through the crow's eyes. The moment the old woman came into contact with the Mist Shinobi encirclement, Mist Shinobi's side had already suffered casualties. Chapter 15. In the dense forest less than 5 kilometers away from the town, Yakang, who had released the transformation technique, held a kunao in each hand. He bent his knees and squatted, staring at the dozen or so Mist Shinobi ninjas in front of him with murderous intent. 2 scorch-style oversteaming fireballs were suspended beside her. The scorching heat made the water-style Mist Shinobi technique performed by the Mist Shinobi ninja lose most of its effect. At her feet, a Mist Shinobi Jainin lay like a dried corpse, completely devoid of life. Without any greetings or harsh words, Zigwashin Puffer Demon, one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, grinned grimly and made a gesture to his companions behind him. Although not all the Sand Shinobi were attracted as planned. Even those Sand Shinobi are most likely hiding in the dark, ready to attack them in return. But as Yakang is the backbone of the Sand Shinobi team, as long as she is quickly captured, the rest of the Sand Shinobi will be nothing but a pile of loose sand. Water style. Joint effort. Big water explosion. 15 Mist Shinobi ninjas, under the command of Zigwashin Pufferfish, used the great explosion water break at the same time. A huge stream of water gushed out of their mouths. When the same ninjutsu is performed at the same time, similar chakra properties merge and converge with each other, forming a huge wave that is enough to submerge everything around. Yakang's eyes flashed slightly, and he leaped and galloped, quickly dodging the waves that were coming from all directions and constantly colliding. Before she could pull the battlefield apart, she broke the encirclement of Mist Shinobi in front of her. The 3 Mist Shinobi Jainin who were following behind the Zigwashin Puffer Demon had already completed their hand seals. Summoning technique, Black-Eyed Crab. Summoning technique, Great Swordfish. Summoning technique. Man-Eating Shark. Chakra smoke enveloped the surroundings. The 3 huge figures looming in the smoke made Yakang feel more pressured. Before the smoke cleared, the 3 Jainin and the summoning men launched water style. The water balls with a diameter of over 2 meters and containing a large amount of chakra were like cannonballs, bombarding the surrounded Yakang continuously. The 15 Mist Shinobi ninjas who had previously used the joint water style did not stop either. 8 people stood in 8 directions, forming seals with their hands, maintaining the output of chakra, and preventing the water style under their feet from spreading and disappearing. The remaining 7 people dived directly into the water and rushed towards Yakang from underwater. The overwhelming water-style attacks quickly annihilated the scorch-style fireball that was spinning beside Yakang. The 7 Mist Shinobi ninjas that were sneaking out of the water also jumped out of the water one after another to launch attacks. Guhahaha Yakura! Where can you run this time? The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon pulled out the big sword Samehada from behind. Looking at Yakang who had sustained several wounds on his body in a short period of time, he was unable to launch an effective counterattack and could only dodge awkwardly. His heart was filled with the joy of revenge. With a move of his feet, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, holding same hata, stepped on the waves and rushed straight towards Yakang. Scorch style, scorch style. Yakang saw the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost approaching rapidly. After barely kicking away two mist shinobi ninjas who attacked from underwater, he formed seals with his hands and slapped the water surface beneath his feet. The scorching heat began to spread from her palms. The water was rushing under my feet, and it was as hot as boiling water in the blink of an eye. Several mist shinobi ninjas who attacked underwater hurriedly distanced themselves, trying to avoid the rapidly rolling and boiling water. But there were still two people who were a little slow and were covered in boiling water. When he struggled to get out of the water, his body was covered with blisters and he couldn't stop howling. Even among the three huge summoning beasts, one was unable to dodge in time and disappeared into smoke. The remaining two were also forced back a distance. How much chakra do you have left to launch this massive scorch style? The smile on the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost's face became more and more ferocious. It jumped up and stepped across the boiling water. The big sword same hata in his hand chopped directly into the face of Yakang, who was performing ninjutsu. Scorch style. Oversteaming kills. Yakang changed her hand seals and quickly used the scorch style she was most familiar with. With both palms, Scorch style's fireball collided with same hata. Hi ha! The big knife same hata let out a painful scream, and its grey-blue body surface turned slightly red. The blade kept twisting, and the spikes on it stood up. Baby, you're going to taste the most delicious chakra soon. The Zigwashan Puffer Ghost comforted same hata and continued to chop with the sword in his hand, ignoring the fact that his arms were already burned. With a powerful chop, the kunao in Yakang's hand was chopped away in just a few strokes. Her hands and arms were scratched and pierced by the spikes due to the close collision with same hata, and were covered in blood. A lot of chakra in the body was sucked away. Faced with the fierce attack of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon and the entanglement of several mist shinobi, Yakang knew that he could not fight head-on. Secretly praying that teammates can arrive quickly. Ah! It's Sand Shinobi's wind style. Get out of the way. As the Zigwashan Pufferfish Demon continued to exert pressure, the Mist Shinobi ninjas' screams were heard. The 8 Mist Shinobi ninjas who were originally guarding against Shisui's escape were attacked by wind style almost at the same time. As they were well prepared, only one person was beheaded directly. Although 2 of the remaining 7 people suffered minor skin injuries, they also avoided the Sand Shinobi's sudden attack. However, the water style, which had been restricted in the combat area and had not spread out, quickly dispersed to the surroundings because it lost the control of chakra. The geographical advantages that were originally created with great difficulty disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yakang took advantage of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon's distraction and used the Scorch style, oversteaming kill skill to directly attack the big sword same hata in his hand. Same hata screamed and screamed from the burns. The scorching heat coming from the handle of the knife forced the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost to let it go temporarily. The 12 Sand Shinobi ninjas and the remaining Mist Shinobi ninjas engaged in close combat. The original encirclement collapsed. A brutal fight began. Yakang, who was no longer under siege, became murderous when facing the Zigwashan Puffer Demon who had lost his sword same hata, and he immediately turned from defense to offense. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato are waiting for their chance in the town. Through the perception of ninjutsu and the vision provided by the crows circling high in the sky, he had been quietly waiting for an opportunity. Seeing that the Sand Shinobi ninja began to deliberately pull the battlefield. Take the Mist Shinobi away from the dense forest full of water. Several seriously injured Mist Shinobi ninjas and a Sand Shinobi Jainin who was so seriously injured that he almost lost his ability to fight were left alone. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato immediately realized that their opportunity had arrived. 3 crows carrying the Flying Thunder God spell, under the control of Yamanaka Kei, formed a V-shaped formation and shot down from the sky. One went straight to the injured Sand Shinobi Jainin who had lost his ability to fight. Of the other 2, one aimed at the injured Mist Shinobi, and the remaining one went straight to the place where the big sword same hata fell. Minato, the sword. The big sword same hata. Yamanaka Kei stared at Namikaze Minato with shining eyes. Big knife same hata. Mist Shinobi is the most special of the 7 ninja swords and the only one with life. Not only can it absorb the opponent's chakra, but it can also provide the absorbed chakra to the holder for use. It can also utilize the large amount of chakra stored to stimulate the regeneration of body cells. Even if you don't care about your appearance, you can merge with same hata to become a fishman, allowing your body to survive completely freely in the water, and your water combat ability will increase significantly. Although in the original work he eventually backstabbed the user Hoshigaki Kisame, became a traitor, and joined 8 Tails Jinkriki Killer B. But this thing really works well under normal circumstances. You really are. Facing his best friend whose eyes were shining, Namikaze Minato couldn't say anything to refuse and could only smile helplessly. He immediately activated the Flying Thunder God technique and disappeared from the spot. Chapter 16. The ever-increasing distance and the fierce and tense battle left both the Sand Shinobi and the Mist Shinobi with no time to care about the injured companions who were left behind. 3 crows suddenly swooped down from the sky. A Mist Shinobi ninja who was urgently treating his own wounds suddenly looked up. Before he could take out his kunao, he beheaded the rapidly attacking crow. The moment his eyes met the crow's, he was affected by the mind-turning puppet curse technique released by Yamanaka Kei, and his mind was lost and he stood there in a daze. The next moment, Namikaze Minato appeared, and the kunao in his hand directly slashed across his neck. The golden light in the sunlight flashed by. Namikaze Minato had already reached the ninja that the other crow was targeting. Sniff. It was not until Namikaze Minato reaped the life of another Mist Shinobi ninja that blood spurted out from the neck of the Mist Shinobi ninja who was attacked first. A feeling of powerlessness and suffocation surged into his brain, and his eyes gradually dimmed. 3 crows flew through the dense forest like ghosts, providing Namikaze Minato with the best landing point for Flying Thunder God. And Namikaze Minato is worthy of the name of Golden Flash. The 6 people left on the battlefield were all killed before they could even last 10 seconds. Dong 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 in the alley in the town, the heads of 4 Mist Shinobi ninjas were thrown at the feet of Yamanaka Kei by Namikaze Minato. He reappeared in the alley, carrying a seriously injured and unconscious Sand Shinobi on his shoulder, a similarly unconscious Mist Ninja in his right hand, and a big sword Samehada in his left hand. He threw the still hot Samehada into Yamanaka Kei's hands. Minato is awesome. Yamanaka Kei grinned and praised his good friend for his reliability. After playing with Samehada for a while, she was scalded by Scorch Style and was dizzy with her mouth wide open and tongue hanging out. He took out the scroll from the scroll bag on his chest and sealed it directly into the scroll. And the heads of the 4 Mist Shinobi ninjas on the ground. He also temporarily stored it using a sealing scroll. Let your summoning beast find a suitable place to hide, and we will move out first. Namikaze Minato held an unconscious prisoner in one hand and asked for his best friend's advice. The ship the 2 men took had already left after dropping them off at the port. If you want to read information from the heads of several ninjas, you must first find a safe and hidden base. We are not as familiar with the surrounding environment as the Mist Shinobi and Sand Shinobi. Instead of moving blindly, it is better to hide under their noses. Yamanaka Kei formed seals with his hands and directly unlocked the summoning technique. The 3 crows, which were several kilometers away, instantly returned to Konoha's bird summoning beast breeding house. Make the most standard hand seal for casting spells of the Yamanaka clan. He used the mind-transforming clone technique directly on the 2 unconscious captives. The 2 captives had no power to resist and control of their bodies was taken away. Yamanaka Kei used the transformation technique on the 2's bodies, turning them into glamorous girls. She even made a rather seductive pose towards Minato. He himself also used the transformation technique to transform himself into a wretched middle-aged man. Namikaze Minato wanted to say something several times but stopped himself. Finally, he sighed helplessly and imitated Yamanaka Kei's transformation, turning into a greasy middle-aged man. After removing the smell of blood and other possible tracking smells left on each of them was holding a girl who looked very charming. He checked into the most luxurious hotel in the town with great arrogance. In the largest suite in the hotel, Namikaze Minato set up a simple soundproofing barrier. Yamanaka Kei directly used the mind-reading technique to start reading the memories of the 2 captives. Mind-reading technique, also known as memory-reading technique. It is one of the ninjutsu that must be mastered to enter the analysis class. Because it requires extremely high mental strength, even in Konoha, there are only a handful of people who can master it. Inside the analysis class, Yamanaka Hai is often praised for his Yin Dun mastery, which allows him to read a person's one-day memory in less than 60 seconds. But only a few people know it. It only takes Yamanaka Kei less than 30 seconds to read through a normal Jainin's memory of one day. After the entry Know a Little was upgraded to Know Most in the ninja world, the speed was more than doubled. 5.5 hours from noon to evening. Yamanaka Kei read through all the memories of the 2 captives in the past 2 years and recorded all the important information on the scroll. Ding S-level professional task obtaining Sand Shinobi and Mist Shinobi War Intelligence has been completed, and you will get 1 entry extraction opportunity, 1 entry copy opportunity. Yamanaka Kei had just finished organizing the scroll in his hand. When I heard the system prompt sound coming from my mind, my whole body went numb. What did he hear? Entry duplication opportunity? Copy opportunity. Almost subconsciously, Yamanaka Kei turned his head and looked at Namikaze Minato, who was standing in front of the window of the room. Insight into time and space. The long-desired Flying Thunder God technique finally found its way. Without any hesitation, Yamanaka Kei directly used this copy opportunity on Namikaze Minato. The entry was copied successfully. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the purple entry Insights into Time and Space. Host, Yamanaka Kei. Occupation, Ninja. Activated entries, Time Traveler, red, Master of Yin Dun, purple, Insight into Time and Space, purple, Whatever you call will come true, purple, King of the Ninja World, blue, Handsome, blue. Inactive entries, Cricket Pupa, white, Fragile Skin and Hard Life, white, Term Extraction, 1 entry gift, 1. An indescribable feeling came over Yamanaka Kei. The space around him began to slowly change in his perception. In the original world, space is elusive, intangible, ethereal, and impossible to perceive. And with the blessing brought by the entry, spatial veins began to emerge, and the spatial nodes had nowhere to hide. Even the tiniest spatial fluctuations could not escape his perception. The spatial coordinates that I had tried countless times before but could not perceive were now extremely clear at this moment. Constructing the Flying Thunder God spell to set up spatial coordinates seemed to have become incredibly simple. As long as he wanted, he could easily carve his own mark of the Flying Thunder God just like Namikaze Minato. Moreover, he also clearly noticed the Flying Thunder God kunao in the ninja tool bag on Minato's waist. This Flying Thunder God coordinate that belongs exclusively to Minato is almost perfectly compatible with the chakra in his body. Yamanaka Kei could vaguely feel that he could also use these coordinates to move. But because of the difference in the nature of chakra, the transfer speed and smoothness are probably much worse than Minato's. Exclusive spatial coordinates. Yamanaka Kei understood. Everyone's chakra is different from person to person. Even if the nature is the same and the same ninjutsu is released, the effects will be slightly different. And in this case, the speed is brought into play in the ultimate Flying Thunder God technique. This difference will be infinitely magnified. It seems that I have to study my own spatial coordinates. Chapter 17. Yamanaka Kei kept the matter of the exclusive space coordinates in mind. He looked at his personal panel again with great joy. Insight into time and space. Once you are fully familiar with the Flying Thunder God technique, you can attack or defend, fight or run, pull and cushion from behind, or break through the enemy's siege. The life-saving ability is instantly maximized. Why are you still worrying about the Third Ninja World War? It would be even better if I could have another chance to copy it and also copy Super Speed Reaction. Yamanaka Kei grumbled inwardly, feeling unsatisfied. I saw that there was only one chance left to draw an entry, so I clicked on it. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the white entry. Brother, you smell good. Brother, you smell good. White obtains this entry, and the attention paid to continues to decrease, while the attention paid to brothers of the same age group continues to increase. The effect continues to increase with the increase of contact time with brothers, until the man becomes the most popular. This dog system. When it comes to disappointing people, it really never disappoints. Yamanaka Kei's mouth twitched slightly. He was still fantasizing about super speed reaction 1 second ago, but this happened the next second? That's it. Although we know that when extracting entries, theoretically the probability of white entries is the highest. But this white entry is more than just a problem of psychological gap. Cage? Is your chakra over-depleted? Namikaze Minato, who was watching, was slightly startled when he saw the unhappy expression on his best friend's face. He hurried over from the window. It's all right. I'll ask you to have the toads at Mount Maiboku send this information scroll back. Yamanaka Kei took a deep breath and handed the intelligence scroll with a lot of private information to Namikaze Minato. Although it is said to be private goods, the information contained in it was actually read from the minds of the ninjas on both sides. It's just that his emphasis is different when he describes it. Okay, you should rest for a while and don't overwork yourself. Namikaze Minato took the scroll, gave another warning with some concern, and then took out the same small tube as Yamanaka Kei from his arms. He dipped it in some blood and performed the summoning technique. No way! Ever since Yamanaka Kei used the summoning technique like this in front of him, he felt stupid every time he looked at the wound on his finger that took several days to heal completely. After a few times, he naturally shamelessly asked Kushina to get him a blood storage tube engraved with sealing techniques. The sealing technique on the tube can greatly preserve the activity of the blood. If it is not opened frequently, there will be no problem even if it is stored for a year. Bang! The smoke from the summoning spell dissipated, and a red, but not very big, communication toad wearing goggles appeared in the room. Hey, good evening, Minato. Jiraiya is visiting at Mount Maiboku, and Fukasaku Sennin and Shima Sennin have prepared a feast. Do you want to come along? Gamakoma raised his palm and greeted Namikaze Minato. Where was Jiraiya-sensei reverse summoned to Mount Maiboku? Namikaze Minato was stunned for a moment, then quickly asked. It's Konoha. He went back yesterday and didn't see you. He said he was sorry. Gamakoma imitated Jiraiya's appearance with great emotion. Then please give this scroll directly to Mr. Jiraiya, and tell Mr. Jiraiya. A smile spread across Namikaze Minato's handsome face. Normally, the toads of Mount Maiboku need to use an item called Tong Shen Shui to deliver messages to Konoha. It is said that this is a treasure passed down from an age even older than the Sage of Six Paths. It can help small toads move quickly in the water veins. It is one of the most important heritages of Mount Maiboku. The speed at which the toads transmit information through long-range water is much faster than the normal flying speed of ninja eagles. From the time the message was sent until Konoha received it, it would take no more than an hour. But if Jiraiya was reverse summoned from Konoha to Mount Maiboku, then by removing the reverse summoning technique, he could instantly return to Konoha. Not to mention an hour, it wouldn't even take a minute. Minato, you should go directly to Mount Maiboku and have Senior Jiraiya hand this over to the analysis class. By the way, transfer these two people directly to Konoha via the toad. Yamanaka Kei pulled out the scroll that sealed the head of Mist Shinobi from his bosom. He forced the scroll into Minato's arms. Actually. Namikaze Minato's face turned slightly green as he thought of the feast that Shima Sennin and Fukasaku Sennin had. But he looked at the two seriously injured prisoners on one side. He sighed slightly in his heart. Although Yamanaka Kei read the memories of the two, due to limited time, he only read part of it. These two people still have extremely high intelligence value. If they are not transferred back via Mount Maiboku, they must be dealt with directly for the sake of the confidentiality of the mission. It's somewhat of a waste. I know, you've been looking forward to the Mount Maiboku feast for a long time. Go ahead, I can do it alone. Yamanaka Kei showed the same thumb as Might Guy. That standard sunny and cheerful big boy smile almost broke Namikaze Minato's defense. It's so bad. It's so bad. This was because he was sure that he would be too embarrassed to complain about the delicious food of Mount Maiboku directly in front of Toad. But he doesn't want to eat bugs. That's a bug. So Minato-chan has been waiting for a long time? I'll tell Shima Sennin right away, Gamakoma said happily, and before Minato could reply, he turned into a puff of smoke and returned to Mount Maiboku. No. Namikaze Minato held Kang's hand, his whole body stiff. Did he say anything? No. Take the food, and eat and drink well. Yamanaka Kei smiled and waved his hands, looking like he was enjoying a good show. Namikaze Minato sighed deeply at his friend who had a bad temper. He had no choice but to use the summoning technique and summon Toad Zhong, whose body took up most of the room. Let it swallow the two seriously injured prisoners. Just after lifting the summoning technique, he lets Gamatata take the captives back to Mount Maiboku. Before he could say anything more, the summoning feeling of the reverse summoning technique came over. Minato grimaced and took several deep breaths. Thinking that at least Jiraiya-sensei was there to accompany him, he gritted his teeth and agreed to the reverse summoning. Bang! Yamanaka Kei watched Namikaze Minato disappear on the spot. After grinning, he couldn't wait to start experimenting with the Flying Thunder God technique. Following the method he had learned from the ninjutsu scroll, he closed his eyes and communicated with the power of space, guiding chakra to combine with it. After a moment, one hand pressed on the outer wall of the teacup in front of him. The outer surface is a circular ring with two arrow marks rotating clockwise on the wall of the cup. That spatial perception is several times clearer than Minato's spatial coordinates. This caused Yamanaka Kei to smile with satisfaction. But the more he looked, the more he felt something was not right. This marks. Damn it! Dongfeng is sending money. Chapter 18. After carving his own flying thunder god mark on each of the 2 teacups, Yamanaka Kei kept the seals with both hands, maintained the high precision sensing of the space markers, and began to try to perform the flying thunder god technique. Run the chakra along specific meridian routes, assisted by the help of one's own flying thunder god mark. In addition to Yamanaka Kei's own ninjutsu talent, the entry "whatever you shout, it will come true" brings an increase in chakra control, and insight into time and space is highly compatible with space ninjutsu. After only a few failures, he completed his first space transfer. It's like going from one door to another. Space jump is so easy to achieve. Senju Tobirama is a genius. Yamanaka Kei was impressed by the talent of second Hokage Senju Tobirama, the creator of Flying Thunder God technique. He was able to create such ninjutsu at a young age. He used it to kill Uchiha Izuna, who opened the Mangeki Sharingan. He also left hundreds of forbidden techniques in Konoha. If Senju Tobirama had not died so early, his final achievements might have been much higher than Senju Hashirama. Between the 2 space markers, he activated the Flying Thunder God technique again and again. Yamanaka Kei quickly became familiar with the feeling of space jumping. The Flying Thunder God technique, which initially required several seconds to prepare, had its time cut by more than half after just a few dozen times of practice. Only, this consumption is a bit unbearable. Yamanaka Kei felt the chakra consumption in his body as if a flood was released, and his whole body was numb. Compared to the level of Flying Thunder God technique, its consumption is indeed not that great. A single short-distance space transfer within 10 meters by a single person is only slightly more than releasing a sea-level fire-style Great Fireball technique. But the question is, who uses Flying Thunder God to teleport only once? Senju Tobirama, people are in the Pure Land, don't queue. Take the situation where Yekeng faced the 20 mist shinobi as an example. 10 or even 20 Flying Thunder God kunao were thrown out. Who can guarantee that there will be an enemy near every point where a kunao lands? Moreover, in battle, you not only need to teleport to the enemy to launch an attack, but also need to dodge the enemy's attacks and readjust the position of the Flying Thunder God kunao. Even in the most ideal state of kill on first sight, every enemy that gets close will be killed with one strike. After a battle, you have to teleport at least 30 times. In a short period of time, a normal Jainin would run out of chakra in a matter of minutes after firing 30 C-rank Great Fireball techniques. Even Yamanaka Kei felt that the consumption was a bit unbearable. You know, thanks to the blessing of the Red Term Traveler, his mental strength is more than 7 or 8 times higher than that of a normal Jainin. In addition, due to long-term training, his physical strength exceeds the average level of Jainin. Although his chakra amount is not as good as that of Namikaze Minato, who has a built-in chakra growth item. But it is probably about 3 times the average amount of Jainin. In the original work, as an adult, Hitaki Kakashi is held back by the Sharingan, and his available chakra amount is basically slightly weaker than average among Jainin. In other words, Yamanaka Kei basically has 3 to 3.5 cards of chakra. Energy storage, super fast reaction. Yamanaka Kei stroked his chin, feeling that if he wanted to fully unleash the power of Flying Thunder God technique, he might have to add 2 more entries. A massive amount of chakra can greatly improve the fault tolerance and endurance of the Flying Thunder God technique. The reaction ability that is much faster than that of normal people directly increases the upper limit of Flying Thunder God technique. Ninja combat is extremely fast-paced. The weaknesses and openings revealed by those powerful ninjas during battle are often fleeting. With super fast reactions, you can seize this fleeting weakness, greatly reducing the number of teleports required during combat, and even greatly reducing the danger of your own actions being predicted. Forget about charging. It's just a blue item. I'll have a chance to copy a more advanced one. Super speed reaction must be taken down. Without this entry, it's easy to dodge quickly and be like Kakashi without the Sharingan, using Chidori to dart around. Tiskai was wondering why Senju Tobirama didn't do what Minato did, using Flying Thunder God to kill people in a flash. It turns out that he couldn't react. Yamanaka Kei was calculating while slowly practicing the Flying Thunder God technique. Only after half of his chakra was consumed did he stop practicing and deal with 2 teacups engraved with the Flying Thunder God's mark. He was not going to reveal the Flying Thunder God technique until he could use it flexibly in actual combat. After all, ninjutsu is ultimately used to kill the enemy. Before it can be used in actual combat, showing off meaninglessly will only alert the enemy in advance. Moreover, his own attainments in Yin Dun are enough to allow him to walk around freely below cage level. Like the kind of encirclement that Yekeng encountered today. If it were him. With full firepower, the Yin Dun technique is so strange and difficult to defend against that more than half of the opponents can be knocked down in one encounter. After that, with a little effort, you can wipe out the opponent without any damage. There is no need to wait for support from companions, nor will you get yourself injured and in a mess. After all, whether it is the high-level secret techniques of the Yamanaka clan or the various illusions, they are all very good at bullying weak opponents. Bang! A strong spatial fluctuation came from the place where Namikaze Minato left. Then thick chakra smoke exploded. Namikaze Minato, with a pale face, as if he was eroded by some indescribable substance, returned to the room. One hand was on the wall, the other hand was on the abdomen. The expression of trying hard to endure something made him look very painful. You don't want to. Yamanaka Kei blinked, and when he saw his friend's expression, his original desire to tease was mostly extinguished. Red, green, purple, pink, long, oval. As Namikaze Minato was talking, the image of the Mount Maiboku feast popped up in his mind, and he almost vomited on the spot. How about something good? Bugs have 6 times the protein of beef, chicken flavor, crunchy. Cage. You know what the feast at Mount Maiboku is. You were the one who believed Jiraiya's lies and signed the contract with Mount Maiboku. Now that things have come to this, since there is no way to go back on your word, why don't we just lie back and enjoy it? Namikaze Minato said halfway, turned around and rushed into the bathroom. After a while of vomiting, he finally returned to the living room looking exhausted. Okay, now that we've vomited everything out, let's think about what to eat tonight. I haven't eaten yet. Are you a devil? Namikaze Minato, who was vomiting all over the place, lost control of his expression when he heard this. He really couldn't understand it. What was wrong with me at the time that I actually thought Yamanaka Kei was a good person and took the initiative to make friends with him? Over the years, he has suffered so much because of this scumbag. Woohoo! Chapter 19. 5 kilometers outside the town. The 6 mist shinobi ninjas, led by Zigwashin Fugigui, returned to the original ambush area after barely repelling the sand shinobi ninjas led by Yekara. Captain, there are no signs of fighting at the scene. They were all killed with one strike. Judging from the wound on the neck, it is likely that he is a master of Grandmaster Yin Style Nature Transformation. A mist shinobi ninja who was conducting on-site investigation at the Grandmaster reported the results to Zigwashin Pufferfish Demon. From which direction did the enemy leave? The traces of our previous battle are too messy, so I can't make any judgment. No other clues. Why yes. The fierce murderous intent that gradually enveloped his body made the mist shinobi sweat profusely. When the watermelon mountain puffer ghost saw his subordinates cowering, he snorted in dissatisfaction. He turned around and took out the summoning scroll of the great sword Samehada from his bosom, and ran his fingertips across the wound on his forearm that was still bleeding. After forming seals with both hands, he slapped his palms on the summoning contract in the center of the scroll. A huge chakra smoke rises. The big sword Samehada, which should have appeared in the center of the scroll, did not react to the summoning contract. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost's heart trembled, and a bad premonition came to his mind. He did not believe in evil and used the summoning technique again. The summoning scroll under his feet still showed no reaction. Bang! The watermelon mountain puffer ghost grabbed the head of his subordinate beside him and threw him to the ground. The rage rising in his chest made him want to punch his subordinate's head. The consecutive defeats in the battles with Yekeng had already caused the village's top leaders to be dissatisfied with him. If Samehada, the broadsword that is one of the symbols of the village, is lost, he will inevitably face the villagers' questioning. I'll give you one last chance. Find the thief who stole Samehada, or I'll crush your bones inch by inch. Yes, yes. The mist shinobi ninja, with a collapsed nose and blood all over his face, was already frightened out of his wits and could only respond hurriedly. The remaining mist shinobi ninjas also hurried into action, searching inch by inch for traces left on the battlefield. While staying away from the angry Zigwashin puffer ghost, I also hope to find some clues left by the enemy. Otherwise, this anger will probably fall on them in the end. In a humble house in the town. The oil lamp lit on the square table flickered with a soybean-sized flame, emitting a dim light. A sand shinobi dressed as a civilian hid his aura very well, pretending to be an ordinary person, busy preparing dinner. In the basement of a residential building, Yekeng and his 6 subordinates got rid of the entanglement of the mist shinobi ninja, and with the help of the medical ninja, they treated their injuries. Although Yekeng's act of rushing into the encirclement alone successfully disrupted Mist Shinobi's plan, it also attracted most of the firepower, allowing his companions to take the opportunity to counter-encircle. But after a fierce battle, 5 people on their side were still killed. Almost all of them were injured and obviously unable to retreat long distances. In this case, compared to the open wilderness, towns with a more complex population structure will undoubtedly be more conducive to their hiding. Dong 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 dong. There was a rhythmic knocking sound coming from the basement door. Hearing that the code was correct, the sand shinobi guarding the basement door breathed a sigh of relief and opened the door. Master Yekeng, something is not right. The sand shinobi ninja who entered the basement quickly reported the results of the investigation. After they and the mist shinobi ninja stopped fighting, he was the least injured, so under Yekeng's instructions, he returned to the place where Mist Shinobi had originally ambushed. Not only did I not find my companions, the 4 headless corpses of Mist Shinobi ninjas also made him feel particularly weird. There were no traces of any powerful ninjutsu at the scene, nor were there any messy footprints or damage from close combat. Everyone is killed with one strike. He knows it very well. Akazeburo, who was left behind due to injury, did not have that kind of strength even in his prime. A third party. Yekeng narrowed his eyes slightly. The keen senses developed from long-term exposure to the brink of life and death made her heart ring with alarm bells. Almost without thinking, he sat up from the ground and spoke to everyone. It's not safe here anymore, retreat. Yes. Everyone responded in unison. He hurriedly packed up his weapons and supplies, used the transformation technique to transform himself into an ordinary citizen, and quickly left the basement. And just before they were about to merge into the street, an extremely strange, yet very familiar sound of flowing water reached everyone's ears. Yekeng raised his eyes and looked in the direction where the sound came from. Small sharks, wrapped in the water current, swam straight towards the direction where everyone was. Damn it! Who didn't deal with the smell? Yekeng cursed inwardly, knowing that it was meaningless to blame his subordinates at this time. He raised his hand and made a warning gesture to the people behind him. Although I don't know why the Kirigakure ninjas are chasing us now since they just fought a battle in the afternoon. However, the 2 sides have been fighting for so long, but they have tacitly agreed not to fight in the town. After all, once massive damage is caused in the town, no matter how cowardly the daimyo of the tea country is, he will protest to the daimyo of the water country and the daimyo of the wind country. Due to the complex relationship between the daimyos of various countries, what followed was the daimyos of each country's criticism of their own ninja villages. According to common sense, after the ninjas of Kirigakure were discovered, the chance to assassinate them using poisonous smoke, fog, illusions and other means was lost. At most they will say a few harsh words and then they will have no choice but to withdraw. Only the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon, who is now the leader of Mist Shinobi's side, seems to be beyond common sense. Almost the moment I saw Sand Shinobi and his group, the anger in his heart completely erupted. Water style. Water teeth bullet. The swirling water streams gathered in front of him, and water guns shot out from the air, shooting straight at Yekeng and his group. The other Mist Shinobi ninjas still had concerns. But they, who were born in the blood mist, understood that if they didn't help the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Demon to get back the big sword Sameheta, without waiting for the village to attack them, as the captain and the most powerful Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost will kill them. That guy never shows mercy to his own people. Kunao and Shuriken fired at Sand Shinobi and his group standing at the entrance of the alley with sharp sounds of breaking through the air. One after another water-style ninjutsu was released from the hands of the Mist Shinobi ninja. Yekeng's pupils shrank sharply. They misjudged Mist Shinobi's intentions, and while hastily dodging, they all used defensive ninjutsu. Boom! Boom boom! The collision of ninjutsu and ninjutsu instantly caused a deafening roar in the town. Screams mixed with cries broke the peace and tranquility when the lights came on. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato, who had just finished dinner, frowned as they watched the tragic scene of the ninjutsu collision hundreds of meters away. In a flash, they realized that they had underestimated the importance of the broadsword Sameheta. If it weren't for the sudden disappearance of this knife. After fighting for a long time, both sides have maintained a certain degree of restraint and will not fight in the town without considering the consequences. Why don't you give them the knife back? How about just killing them? Namikaze Minato and Yamanaka Kei open the event. After saying this, one of them felt helpless, and the other felt disgusted. After looking at each other, Xiao Yang finally gave in and chose his best friend's plan. Chapter 20. The helpless screams of women, the terrified cries of children, the weak requests for help from the elderly. In just a few moments, chaos filled every corner of the town. The buildings, which were not very solid to begin with, were reduced to ruins under the impact of ninjutsu. The sharp wind blades and surging waves wantonly destroyed everything around them. The thick fog of water style mist shinobi technique is still spreading. Led by the mad Zigwashan puffer demon, the ninjas of mist shinobi gradually let go and used the tactics they were best at. And the sand shinobi ninjas, under Yakang's orders, tried their best to use wind style. The power of wind style carries the heat of scorch style, sweeping around continuously. Every ninja on both sides was fighting desperately. Those spies who were originally hiding in the town as support no longer cared about hiding their identities and joined the battle one after another. The already ruined town was turned into a living hell by the ninjutsu exchanges between the two sides. Try your best to escape from the crowd on the battlefield. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato, standing still, seemed out of place with their surroundings at this moment. Now, you are the sand shinobi and I am the mist shinobi. Yamanaka Kei formed a seal with one hand and used the transformation technique to transform into the appearance of the mist shinobi ninja he had captured before. His chakra attributes are yin and water. Although he has been studying the family's secret arts and illusions due to his outstanding psychic talent, he has also dabbled in water style. Even though I can't compare to those ruthless people who have the water style series entries. But compared to the ninjutsu of wind, thunder, earth, and fire, which can only be performed with difficulty, his water style is much more powerful and proficient. Try to use only wind style. Namikaze Minato nodded and also used the transformation technique to transform into the appearance of the previously captured sand shinobi ninja. Their mission is the village's secret. If possible, he didn't want to reveal his identity. Ninjutsu, mind transforming technique. Yamanaka Kei formed a seal with one hand, performing the family's secret technique to connect himself with Namikaze Minato's mind. The two of them were able to communicate with each other through their minds and transmit their own perceptions. The next moment, they both took out the kunao from the ninja tool bags at their waists. Choke! The kunao collided, flying sparks. The two men leaped onto the roof, and in the fierce and dangerous close combat, they quickly approached the battlefield where a thin mist still remained. Akazaburo! A sand shinobi just forced back a mist shinobi in front of him. Seeing Akazaburo, who was wearing tattered clothes and had blood-stained bandages, and was obviously seriously injured, a hint of joy appeared in his eyes. Almost without thinking, he stepped forward to help Akazaburo stop the mist shinobi who was also covered in blood. The mist shinobi on the opposite side was about to be besieged. He forced Akazaburo back with one strike, formed seals with his hands, and used Mist Shinobi's signature water style. Mist Shinobi technique again. Thick fog rose. After the ninja came to his companion's side, he relied on his companion's protection almost without thinking and prepared to release wind style ninjutsu. But he didn't wait for him to finish the seal. The kunao wrapped in the sharp wind attribute chakra in the hand of his companion instantly slashed across his neck. "Tisk, such an honest child." Yamanaka Kei sighed inwardly. Namikaze Minato also used the transformation technique again and took the opportunity to transform into the appearance of the ninja he had beheaded. Assisted by Yamanaka Kei's wide-range perception ninjutsu. In Mist Shinobi technique, the two who were still like ducks in water did not blow away the thick fog. Instead, he did the same thing and killed another Mist Shinobi ninja. With the help of a new identity. The two people in the battle are more adept at deceiving people. The light mist that was not completely dispelled by Scorch style brought a certain degree of visual interference. Yamanaka Kei's extremely concealed illusion and the pretentious release of water style, plus Namikaze Minato's superb wind style. In the fierce battle, the ninjas on both sides had no time to suspect. It only took less than 5 minutes. The two men cooperated more and more skillfully and silently dealt with more than 10 ninjas from both sides. Keep your distance. Someone has used the transformation technique to become a companion. Anyone who dares to get close will be attacked. Yakang's voice echoed across the battlefield. Unlike the crazy pufferfish ghost in Zigwa Mountain, She had rich combat experience and guessed what happened the moment she discovered the abnormality. As a veteran Jainin, Zigwashan Pufferfish Ghost was reminded by this and obviously realized that something was wrong. Even if he was anxious to take back the big sword Sameheta. But his remaining rationality still allowed him to quickly distance himself and give the same order to his subordinates. The light mist quickly dissipated in the air after losing chakra support. Under the cold moonlight, the remaining ninjas of Mist Shinobi and Sand Shinobi jumped onto the roof in perfect harmony. Everyone stood still, looking vigilantly at their companions and enemies around them. In this short period of time, on Mist Shinobi's side, there are only 4 people left, including the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Demon. There were only 5 people left on the Sand Shinobi side, including Yakang. Among them are Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato, who are still maintaining the transformation technique. Yakura, hand over the sword Sameheta. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost seemed to have finally remembered that he could still speak. Without caring about his subordinates who had suffered heavy losses, he immediately asked for the lost sword Sameheta. Idiot! Can't you see? We didn't take you Sameheta at all. There was a third party interfering in our fight. Yakang gritted his teeth as he looked at the Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost opposite him. I kept cursing the other person's stupidity in my heart. This stupid idiot with water in his brain, when he saw the scene of the previous battle, he didn't even notice that a third party was taking advantage of the situation. They also put the blame directly on the Sand Shinobi. Launch an attack in town rashly. She could already foresee that when she returned to the village, not only would she not be able to gain the merit she deserved for her war, but she would also be blamed by the village. The Watermelon Mountain Pufferfish Ghost is such an idiot. Even if she was roasted into a jerky or cut into slices, it would not be enough to relieve the hatred in her heart. Ha ha ha, very good. Very good. Now, everyone cut your palms. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost laughed angrily, his teeth like those of an evil spirit flashing a cold light, and he raised his hand in public. He was able to sit in a middle and senior position in Mist Shinobi not just by relying on his strength. After Yakang's reminder, he realized that he was being made a fool. Ninjutsu, Shinran martial arts technique. The invisible and intangible Yin-Tun Chakra energy spreads. Except for Namikaze Minato, who already knew what Yamanaka Kei was thinking, everyone present was scared to death. They wanted to dodge, but the strange and powerful Yin-Dun energy had already corroded their bodies like a thorn in their bones, making them unable to move a single step. This is the Yamanaka clan's Shinran Enbu technique. Damn Konoha! The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost felt a strong sense of restraint coming from his body, and with his strong physical strength, he twisted his neck stiffly. He glared fiercely at the direction where the chakra fluctuations had just spread. Heartbreaking martial arts technique. The Yamanaka clan of Konoha practices an extremely difficult S-level secret technique. It is said that after the Second Ninja World War, the Yamanaka clan suffered heavy losses and few people were able to use it. It can easily control the enemy's body and make them kill each other. Congratulations, you guessed it right. As a reward, I can let you die heroically. Yamanaka Kei maintained the seal with one hand, with a bright and harmless smile on his face. That warm and clear voice, which sounded like a casual chat, sent chills down everyone's spine. Chapter 21. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato's mission. Nature dictates. The two cannot reveal their identities. At the very least, the top leaders of Kirigakure and Tsunagakure must not know that Konoha has also intervened in the fight between the two. Otherwise, it has its own taunt skill. Konoha, which has been the main target of attack by many ninja villages in every Ninja World War, will definitely become the target of public criticism. The two will inevitably face accountability from Konoha's top leaders. And because of the disappearance of Sameheta, the Zigwashan Pufferfish Ghost seems to be out of control. This reckless and wanton fighting in the town will not only intensify the conflict between Sand Shinobi and Mist Shinobi and greatly speed up the progress of the war, but the final whereabouts of Big Sword Sameheta will also expose Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato. At this time, unless the two of them can secretly let Sameheta return to the hands of the Zigwashan Puffer Demon with a suitable reason. Otherwise, the only solution is to silence them. The blame for the Big Sword Sameheta was completely put on Sand Shinobi. We can talk. As long as you return Sameheta, this matter will have nothing to do with Konoha. The Zigwashan Puffer Ghost's thoughts turned rapidly. As one of the leaders of Kirigakure Enbu, he knows a lot of intelligence. His understanding of Shinran Enbu technique is also far better than that of ordinary ninjas. This technique has strict activation conditions, requiring the target to be motionless, and if a mistake is made, the caster will fall into a state of stiffness. This is why it is an S-level secret technique. Not only because it is incredibly difficult to learn. It is also because, once it hits, it will be difficult for the victim to resist. Others are the butchers and I am the meat. In order to survive, he can compromise, whether it is the big sword Samehada, or the interests of the village. I told you to die heroically, can you please have some backbone? Yamanaka Kei glanced at the watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost with a displeased look. A thought came to my mind. The ninjas controlled by the Shinran Enbu technique all took out the kunao from their waists and pointed them at the Ziguishan puffer demon. Wait. Samehada is for you. I won't tell anyone about you. Stop. Stop. I can tell you all about Kirigakuer. I know a lot. A lot of top secrets. Stop. I can start Mist Shinobi and Sand Shinobi and wars, I can be a spy. Don't. I'm useful. I'm a high-ranking Mist Shinobi, The despicable side of human nature was fully displayed by the Ziguishan puffer ghost at this moment. But Yamanaka Kei no longer had the patience to listen to this guy's nonsense. The Mizukage of Kirigakuer were all controlled by Uchiha Madara. Even if the Ziguishan puffer ghost goes back to act as an insider, how much of a role can he play? The greater probability is that Uchiha Madara will see through him at the first sight. By then, not only this trouble will be unresolved. He has always been low-key, which will attract the attention of Uchiha Madara in advance. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the sharp sound of the kunao breaking through the air was heard. The watermelon mountain pufferfish ghost, who was completely unable to control his body, could only watch helplessly as the kunao pierced through his throat, heart, spleen, liver, and kidneys. Ding kill a well-known supporting character, slightly interfere with the development of the world line, and obtain 1 entry extraction opportunity, 1 entry gift opportunity. The familiar system prompt sound was heard when the Ziguishan puffer ghost died. Yamanaka Kei raised his brows slightly. He immediately realized that the system's judgment of professional tasks and major events was much more flexible than he had imagined. Well-known supporting actor. Is the Ziguishan puffer ghost famous? In the original book, this guy appeared only a handful of times. Probably its biggest role was that it had a huge impact on the important supporting character Hoshigaki Kisame, indirectly promoting part of the main storyline. So, Yamanaka Kei's gaze shifted to Yekeng on the side. The most beautiful back in the ninja world. In the original novel, she was betrayed by the higher UPS and was riddled with kunao. I looked up some information about Yekeng in the Memory Palace. Yamanaka Kei looked with pity at Yekeng, who was pretending to be unable to resist but secretly accumulating strength. This guy is definitely the biggest hater in the ninja world. Originally, he was thinking whether he could get some rewards by killing Yekeng. But after reading this girl's experience, it seems to be of no use. In the ninja world, there is a user of Scorch-style bloodline limit whose reputation is much greater than that of Ziguishan pufferfish. According to normal plot development, the impact on the main line is almost non-existent. When he was alive, he served the village loyally and was regarded as a hero of the village. However, the village leaders betrayed him directly in order to reach a truce with Mist Shinobi. After being reincarnated by the impure world, he had to face his idiot and saintly apprentice, listen to a bunch of illogical and shameless remarks that were full of saintly aura, and finally return to the Pure Land in frustration. The movie version is even worse. He appears as a corpse and his bloodline limit is taken away by Hiriko's Kachira technique. Really, the biggest enemy among enemies. Yamanaka Kei was at a loss for words for a moment. I don't know how to describe this girl whose death was even more miserable than that of Konoha's White Fang Hotaki Sakumo. At least Hotaki Sakumo has a son who understands him. Yekeng, Yamanaka Kei is sure that such a person will not get any reward at all. So can we do the reverse? The system's reward mechanism is obviously linked to the degree of impact on the main storyline. If Yagura's fate was drastically altered, given his status in Tsunagakuer and his strength far exceeding that of ordinary Jonin, it could easily have a certain impact on the main storyline. Yekeng was stunned for a moment when facing Yamanaka Kei's eyes, which were sometimes sympathetic and sometimes exciting. After coming to his senses, he directly classified the other party into the category of Bien. At first, he looked harmless, and with a smile on his face, he controlled everyone to turn the watermelon mountain puffer ghost into a hedgehog. Then he looked at her with various expressions. Is he choosing which expression to use to kill her? Hetui. This is a level of psychological distortion. There are so many HI in Konoha. Jing, stop playing around. If ordinary people see us, it will be a bit troublesome. Namikaze Minato saw that Yamanaka Kei didn't move for a long time, so he reminded him reluctantly. All right. Yamanaka Kei responded. While maintaining the action of forming seals with one hand, he suddenly increased the output of chakra. Yekang, who was secretly accumulating strength, froze in his tracks. The chakra that had been slowly gathering in the body, ready to burst out at the last moment and forcibly break free from Yamanaka Kei's control, lost its sensitivity in the blink of an eye. His hands uncontrollably formed the scorch-style oversteaming killing hand seal. The instinct that has long been engraved in the bones allows chakra to move quickly along the path that has been walked thousands of times. Scorch style, a deadly fireball instantly shot out from his palm and hit the mist shinobi ninjas on the opposite side. Several mist shinobi ninjas looked desperate but terrified. Under Yamanaka Kei's control, he flew towards the scorch-style fireball while constantly forming seals with his hands. Water-style water bullet technique, water-style water tooth bullet, water-style water shark bullet technique. The successive water styles bypassed the scorch-style fireballs and attacked the sand shinobi ninjas who were standing there. The next moment, both sides were overwhelmed by each other's ninjutsu. Chapter 22. The ninjas of Mist Shinobi were transformed into dry corpses under the scorch style. The sand shinobi ninjas were either pierced through by the water gun or had their internal organs smashed by the water style, and the flowing blood dyed the deadly torrent red. After just one encounter, everyone lost their voice except Yekang, who was specially left behind by Yamanaka Kei. Such a tragic scene is completely consistent with the scene when two groups of ninjas are fighting. Just a few minor adjustments. By handling the details at the scene, you can easily conceal it from other people's investigations. How did you use the scorch style? Namikaze Minato looked at Yegura, the only survivor, and knew that this was the person that Yamanaka Kei was going to keep to take the blame, so he didn't say much. What he just couldn't understand was the dominant consciousness of Yekang's body controlled by the Shinran Enbu technique should be Yamanaka Kei. How can this be used in scorch style? According to the information he had learned before, the secret technique of the Yamanaka clan was to seize control of another person's body. The clan members with weaker control over secret techniques cannot use the bodies of the controlled people to perform ninjutsu. To achieve this, one must have extremely strong Yin-dun attainments to cut off the influence of the victim's consciousness on the chakra in the body. Chakra is a mixture of spiritual power and physical power. Cutting off the influence of the enemy's own chakra is much more difficult than taking control of the enemy's body. What's more, under normal circumstances, the ninjutsu that the controlled person can release must be the one that the caster knows. The person being controlled must also have the chakra attribute corresponding to the ninjutsu being released. It is true that Yekang himself knows scorch style. This is Yamanaka Kei. You can't say he has learned scorch style. After long-term practice, some ninjutsu have become muscle memory and have become body instincts. All you need is a simple guide, and the body will complete the rest of the steps. Yamanaka Kei explains the general principle in a concise manner. After all, Yekang is too proficient in scorch style, especially his signature ninjutsu scorch style, oversteaming kill. He just copied Yekang's seal-making order. The body's instinct will quickly complete a task that has been performed countless times before the brain issues an order. Muscle memory, body instinct. Namikaze Minato nodded thoughtfully. Minato, you adjust the scene again to see if there is anything missing. I will deal with her. Yamanaka Kei told Minato. With his eyes full of hostility and murderous intent, Yekang walked towards an empty and dilapidated house not far away. Yin-dun is a force that can create tangible things from the invisible. It represents spiritual power and can often do things that seem incredible to ordinary people. Interfere with other people's five senses, create illusions that are indistinguishable from reality, sense chakra from a distance, explore other people's memories, control other people's bodies, transmit one's own emotions and perceptions, hurt other people's spirits, and destroy other people's consciousness. Even, change other people's memories. He is the only owner of the red term traveler in the entire Konoha. Yamanaka Kei's spiritual power is beyond imagination. With such an increase in mental strength, the purple entry Yin-dun master also possesses power that is unimaginable for ordinary people. Take the item of changing other people's memories for example. As far as he knew, in the entire ninja world, no one could do it except him. Even if Uchiha Shisui later awakened the Mangeki Sharingan and obtained the ultimate eye technique distinguished heavenly gods, only his will was changed, not his complete memory. Yamanaka Kei's attainment in the family's secret arts is second only to Yamanaka Kei in the family. Last year, there was also an attempt to change someone else's memory. Not only did the person who was hit by the spell die instantly, but he himself also suffered the backlash of the Yin Dun power. He bled from all 7 orifices and was mentally traumatized. He had to lie in bed at home for more than 2 months. So, this is a method of changing other people's memories. Currently only Yamanaka Kei can do it. Place Yaking on the couch in the hut. Yamanaka Kei formed a seal with one hand, and the power of Yin Dun quickly invaded the opponent's mind. Intercepted from the memory palace, some ninja memories that were read when I was working in the analysis class. By piecing together the facts, Yakang's background was changed to that of a spy sent to Sand Shinobi by Konoha when he was a child. Incorporates some scenes of spies handing over intelligence. Completed the spy's identity memory. She then focused on modifying her memory of today, erasing the shadows of herself and Minato, and putting all the blame on the dead Watermelon Mountain pufferfish demon. Yamanaka Kei began the final step, carefully making seals with his hands. He used the memory sealing technique that Kushina had taught him. After the long and complicated hand seals were finished, he pressed lightly on Yakang's head with one hand, temporarily sealing all the altered spy memories. A small gap is left on the seal to ensure that the seal will be gradually opened in the next 1 to 2 years. The human brain has a strong ability to self-repair and complete memory. Wait until the memory is fully restored. Yakang will only become more convinced of the spy identity in his memory. Isn't this better than the subconscious sand technique? Yamanaka Kei wiped the sweat from his forehead and a satisfied smile appeared on his face. The Uzumaki clan's memory sealing technique can perfectly hide the seal in the brain, which is much more reliable than the brain manipulation technique that requires inserting a needle into the brain. Even if Yakang goes back this time, Tsunagakure will not find anything abnormal if he uses secret techniques to probe her brain. Drop significantly changes the fate of supporting characters, slightly interferes with the development of the world line, obtains entry extraction opportunity ×1, entry gift opportunity ×1. System, you are so stingy. Yamanaka Kei looked at the system prompt and rolled his eyes. He went to so much trouble, using memory alteration and sealing techniques, to turn the future Sand Shinobi hero into a Konoha spy. The reward is actually the same as directly killing the Ziguishan pufferfish ghost? I was dissatisfied and complained in my heart for a long time. Seeing that the system was silent like a mute, he curled his lips in boredom. Directly start the entry extraction and use up the 2 entry extraction opportunities just obtained. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the blue entry water style control and the white entry smiling greeting. Water style mastery, blue years of practice have enabled you to precisely master the nature transformation and form changes of water style ninjutsu. Your efficiency in learning, studying, improving, and creating water style ninjutsu has increased. The release speed, power, and effect of the water style series of ninjutsu have increased. Smiling face, white facial muscle nerves are permanently changed. When the expression changes, all expressions turn into smiling faces. Affinity is slightly improved, and the chance of depression increases. Yo! Blue entry. When Yamanaka Kei saw the blue word water style control drawn, his expression immediately turned from cloudy to sunny. The fatigue caused by the intensive use of Yin Dun and changing other people's memories disappeared at this moment. Don't underestimate the blue entries. Shimura Dens is a disciple of 2nd Hokage Senju Tobirama and a member of the Shadow Guard. I've been struggling for a lifetime. The highest achievement in ninjutsu is just the control of wind style. A simple term extraction. A ninja with decent talent gets the ability that can only be acquired through a lifetime of hard work. What's there to be dissatisfied about? Without any hesitation, Yamanaka Kei decisively chose to activate the entry water style control. As for the white entry that makes up the number, welcome with a smile. Hee which good person can only laugh? Still depressed? In the ninja world, a magic technique can provide powerful psychological counseling. What's the use of depression? Chapter 23. Buzz. As soon as water style control was activated, Yamanaka Kei felt a slight buzzing sound in his mind. A large amount of training memories and ninjutsu experience came flooding in and poured into the memory palace. The huge amount of memories he received in a short period of time made his head swell, and he couldn't help but let out a suppressed groan. Jing, well, I remember you said that it's never too late to stop and it's a great honor to admit your mistakes and improve. Namikaze Minato's voice came from outside the door of the ramshackle hut. FK. What nonsense are you talking about? Yamanaka Kei was stunned for a moment. Then he immediately realized that Minato, the pure little son, had really learned bad things from Jiraiya, the BD old scum whose head was full of 18+ garbage. What the hell is this? Do you suspect that something weird happened between him and Yakang in the room? Depend on. Although Yakang's appearance is indeed good and his figure is also first class. Her beautiful back, as smooth as jade, adds a bit of sexiness and temptation to her. She is considered one of the most beautiful women in the ninja world. But Yamanaka Kei isn't that hungry yet. So. Jiraiya. UTND are really damn good. Yamanaka Kei opened the shabby door and pulled Namikaze Minato directly into the hut. And Namikaze Minato found out that he had misunderstood. Faced with the disappointed look in his best friend's eyes, he was a little thin-skinned and felt so embarrassed that his neck turned red. With a stiff expression, he began to change the subject. Make sure everything is arranged. What do you think? Yamanaka Kei replied through gritted teeth. If it wasn't for this accident, it was completely because he had a sudden impulse and wanted to seize the big knife Samehada. He also thought about asking Minato to help cover up what happened today in the mission report after returning to the village. He had to ask carefully. While Jiraiya was having fun with the girls in Kabukiko, Minato was guarding the door for that old guy. Otherwise he just groaned. How can you associate it with unspeakable things? A slightly painful groan came from the unconscious Yakang's mouth. Namikaze Minato's face, which had just cooled down a little by changing the subject, turned red again. Yamanaka Kei rolled his eyes. He gestured to signal for a quiet evacuation. Namikaze Minato didn't care about being embarrassed, and hurried to catch up with his best friend, disappearing into the hut in an instant. Not long after the two left, Yakang struggled to wake up from his nightmare. Rubbing her aching head, she looked around vigilantly, recalled the scene before she fainted, and rushed out of the nearly collapsed hut. Looking at the battlefield filled with the corpses of his companions and missed shinobi ninjas. She stood there for a long time. Until civilians saw the battle was over and came back cautiously to check. Immersed in grief, she staggered and began to collect the bodies of her fallen comrades. Well. Lying on the side of the three-masted sailing ship returning to Konoha. Namikaze Minato let out a long sigh. Perhaps it was the empathy he felt for his own kind, or perhaps it was because Yakang's sadness at that time was too profound and moving. I always recall the scene I saw when I left. He could always feel a faint sense of depression lingering in his chest, making him feel suffocated and irritated. Still thinking about Yakang. Yamanaka Kei saw Namikaze Minato sighing. I walked to his side, half leaned on the side of the boat, closed my eyes and enjoyed the caress of the sea breeze. Jing, what is the purpose of ninjas? Fight. You really aren't afraid of hitting me at all. Namikaze Minato looked at his friend's nonchalant look in silence. He was very clear in his mind. Although my friend's words sound cruel, they are the truth. No matter how ninjas appeared in this world. In the millennium of inheritance, fighting is the eternal theme of ninja. Money, beauty, land, hatred, love, greed. All desires will breed struggles, and struggles will bring conflicts, violence, blood, and killing. The reason why ninjas have been able to continue to grow and develop throughout history, replacing professions such as samurai, wrestlers, shrine maidens, monks, and onmyoji, and becoming the mainstream of this world, is that. Isn't it because ninjas are better at fighting people? Don't think about those things. You feel pity for Yakang, but don't the civilians who died in the battle between them feel pity? Don't the innocent passers-by whose houses were destroyed feel pity? Yamanaka Kei yawned lazily. Possessing a modern soul, even though he has already lived in this world for 19 years. But he still found it difficult to empathize with the ninja. After all, in his opinion, the ninja village is more like a collection of mercenaries and terrorist organizations. Possessing powerful military force, disregarding life, cruel and bloody. At the age of 5, they have to go to the ninja school to be brainwashed and learn various killing methods. At the age of 11 or 12, they must graduate and carry out missions, and see blood under the guidance of the team leader. In the past, which country's regular army could do such a cruel thing? Ninja. Namikaze Minato sighed once more, and instead of feeling comforted, he seemed even more depressed. He had asked Yamanaka Kei a long time ago. How to achieve world peace. Yamanaka Kei also told him straightforwardly. On the premise of ensuring that social productivity can meet the survival and material needs of the vast majority of people. There are only 3 situations in which a period of relative peace can be achieved. First, have the power like Senju Hashirama to shock everyone by force and gain a brief peace. Second, fight a war of unification to integrate all countries and ninja villages into one, with the same writing system, the same wheel gauge, and unified education and culture. Third, an enemy emerges that threatens the entire ninja world and the survival of everyone, thus diverting internal conflicts. Namikaze Minato considered himself a genius, but possessing the strength of Senju Hashirama was something he couldn't even imagine. As for the unification war, among the Konoha high-ranking officials, only Shimura Dans might have such an idea. Not to mention that he also hated Shimura Dans. Just considering Konoha's current strength, it is impossible to do this. Only this last one. It would be great if Uchiha Madara was still alive. A man who can fight against the first Hokage should have the power to threaten the entire ninja world and everyone's survival. Yamanaka Kei felt terrible when he heard Minato's words out of the blue. Damn it! Brother Dai! What nonsense are you talking about? That old guy Uchiha Madara is really still alive. We are all still in the development stage now, and we are playing against each other at the same time. Wouldn't it be better for us to develop well in the low-end game? Stop messing around. In case the old guy is aroused by you and wants to dance, do a Tengei Shinsai to give you a little spiritual shock. Do you believe me and I'll show you how to get F-ed on the spot? Chapter 24. Most people in the ninja world today have no intuitive concept of how powerful Uchiha Madara is. After all, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, in order to ensure the stability of his position, drastically revised the textbooks of the ninja school and distorted the history of the ninja world. He even lost his dignity and called himself the strongest Hokage. Even for someone like Namikaze Minato, who had heard the true history from Yamanaka Kei, his understanding was actually very one-sided. Uchiha Madara. That's the Manjiki Sharingan state, he can single-handedly hang up and beat the 5 Kage and the allied ninja army. If it weren't for the old man Six-Path secretly providing support from behind. Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke also did repeated sit-ups like the cockroaches in Immune to Death. And Black Zetsu dug people's hearts out from behind at the critical moment. Uchiha Madara is definitely the winner in the end. Given the small bodies of Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato, facing off against Uchiha Madara at this stage, even if it is Madara in his twilight years, it would basically be like delivering food to them. Just thinking about it makes me feel that this world is really dangerous. First there was the Uchiha Madara, and then there was the Tsutsuki clan. It's too difficult. Yamanaka Kei complained inwardly. If it weren't for the system, his strength would have been increasing rapidly. He really wanted to find a place deep in the mountains and forests to start the show. I was just daydreaming. A sudden spatial fluctuation came from Namikaze Minato, who was beside Yamanaka Kei. Hey? Mount Maiboku is performing the reverse summoning technique. I'll go over there. Namikaze Minato senses the call of the reverse summoning technique. He raised his hand and stabbed a flying thunder god kunao into the side of the ship, then disappeared in a huge cloud of chakra smoke. Follow the rules of summoning technique. After the summoning technique is lifted, the person being summoned will return to the spatial coordinates when he was summoned. If there is no flying thunder god to guide us. By the time he returned from Mount Maiboku, this 3-masted sailing ship, which had a fairly fast sailing speed, would have disappeared long ago. It didn't take long for Namikaze Minato to travel to Mount Maiboku. It was just less than 20 minutes. He used the Flying Thunder God technique to get back on the bark. Yamanaka Kei was still on the deck basking in the sun and enjoying the sea breeze. Namikaze Minato asked in confusion after seeing him return from Mount Maiboku with a strange look on his face. What's wrong with your expression? The village issued a notice, which roughly means that Uzushio village has always been a staunch ally of Konoha. Due to some reasons in the past few years, Konoha was unable to lend a helping hand in time when facing the plight of the Uzumaki clan. The Konoha shinobi is called on to help the Uzumaki clan members when they meet them outside. Namikaze Minato organized his words and roughly recounted the news he heard from the toad. Yamanaka Kei also looked very strange after hearing this. I also completely understood why Namikaze Minato had that expression just now. To sum up, the expressions of both of them actually mean the same thing. What have you been doing so far? It has been many years since the Whirlpool country was destroyed, and only a few members of the Uzumaki clan are left. Now you remember that they are your allies? Third generation is planning to recruit some members of the Uzumaki clan. Yamanaka Kei immediately saw what the announcement was trying to achieve. The Uzumaki clan. The only thing that those old sinister people in the village are interested in is his own bloodline and sealing skills. And this kind of thing suddenly appeared and never happened in the original book. He knew with his toes that it must be because of the rumor in the village that he and Kushina were in love. Worried about problems with Jinkriki? Or was it to guard against the Yamanaka clan? Or both? That should be the case. It looks like some of the Kushina people will soon settle in Konoha. Namikaze Minato smiled and nodded, feeling happy for Kushina. Konoha is one of the 5 major ninja villages. The living environment in the village is definitely much better than those chaotic small countries outside. If the Uzumaki clan could come to Konoha, they would surely be able to survive and pass on well. Don't be too optimistic. Who knows how the Uzumaki clan will hate Konoha? Yamanaka Kei curled his lips. In his heart, he started communicating with the system, wanting to ask if there would be any reward for the butterfly effect he caused. Does this also affect and change the main storyline? Hello system. What about the rewards? Dog? Dog system? Wipe. Looking at the system which has been silent for a long time. Yamanaka Kei frowned and turned to look at Namikaze Minato beside him. Minato. You want a wife or not? Namikaze Minato looked at his best friend with a question mark on his face. Long red hair, a beautifully carved face, a sexy body, and a gentle personality. Do you want it? Yamanaka Kei grabbed Minato's neck. Describes in detail the appearance of the Uzumaki girl in memory. As long as it's not the kind that can make me cry for a long time with just one punch, maybe, possibly, I want it too. Namikaze Minato's face lit up with a smile. To be honest, he did think red hair was beautiful. That color always makes him feel infinite enthusiasm and vitality. Back in the ninja school. If Yamanaka Kei hadn't acted so quickly, he might have actually tried to pursue Kushina. Wait, I will relay this to Kushina. Yamanaka Kei became more determined to bring that girl and Minato together. 1. Change Minato's life trajectory and get system rewards. 2 articles. Kushina is his. Minato must be moved out as soon as possible, otherwise he will be annoying. Hey, I was just repeating what you said, okay? If Kushina wants to hit someone, it should be you. Namikaze Minato argued. She couldn't bear to hit me, so. You'll lose me as a friend if you do this, seriously. Ha 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 ha, the two laughed and joked for a while. Yamanaka Kei directly asked the captain to change the course and change the destination to Summoning Island in the Kingdom of the Sea. When a ninja goes out on a mission, any kind of accident is possible. I just went back a few days late. No one will say anything more. The Kingdom of the Sea is located in the northern part of the Kingdom of Water and the southern part of the Kingdom of Thunder. Like the Grass Kingdom, the Bear Kingdom, the Rain Kingdom and other countries, it is a small country sandwiched between 2 big countries and used as a buffer in war. The Summoning Island is said to be the territory of the Sea Country, but the actual controller is Kirigakuer. In the original work, this island is favored by many ninjas because it is home to a large number of powerful creatures that can be used as summoning beasts. A research institute was also established on the island to study, breed and improve summoning beasts. Yamanaka Kei had learned this when he read the memory of the Mist Shinobi Ninja before. Most of the summoning beasts they used to fight against Yekeng came from there. I just didn't pay too much attention to it at that time. Now let's talk about the Uzumaki clan. Yamanaka Kei recalls the Uzumaki people who had names and surnames in the original work. Naturally, I thought of the girl who stayed on the summoning island but was eventually killed by the so-called ultimate summoning beast. Memories from the original story, plus the information in the mind of the Mist Shinobi Ninja. The girl named Uzumaki Anoka is most likely still alive today, and her age is not much different from theirs. Isn't it better to be Minato's wife than to die in the mouth of a beast? I'm such a genius. The little man in Yamanaka Kei's mind put his hands on his waist, looking so proud. Chapter 25. Ga on the sea surface dozens of miles away from Summoning Island in the Kingdom of the Sea. 2 summoning crows contracted by Yamanaka Kei stood on the side of the ship, flapping their wings and cawing. Even if you don't understand bird language. Nor does the Yamanaka clan have the secret technique to connect the mind and spirit, transmit and sense emotions. Namikaze Minato could also see that the two little guys were swearing very dirty. Alright, alright. I know those guys scared you. I'll help you beat them back later, alright. Yamanaka Kei fumbled for a moment in the small pocket of Janin's waistcoat. He took out a handful of specially made pet jerky and handed it to the two little guys. The two little guys were scolded for a long time. After hearing that Yamanaka Kei would avenge him, he hesitated for a while before reluctantly nodding. He came over hopping and started eating the dried meat in big mouthfuls. Scout the summoning island several times in a row. The animals on the island were more ferocious than each other, and they were really scared. If it weren't for the owner's superb skills, he would have been showing off his skills in the dense forest, making all kinds of extreme turns. They must have been soaked in the gastric juice of an unknown bird of prey long ago. How is the third generation preparing? After Yamanaka Kei calmed the two little guys, he turned around and asked Namikaze Minato. Before he and Minato came to Summoning Island, no one expected that the average strength of the animals on this small island, which is called the Island of Forgotten by local residents, would be so exaggerated. The number of creatures that could rival Chunin actually exceeded 100. Several tribe leaders even possess Janin level speed or strength. Such creatures, with a little training, can become qualified summoning beasts and can greatly enhance the combat effectiveness of ninjas. Yamanaka Kei inquired about Jiraiya's whereabouts. After learning that they were still in Konoha, they immediately decided to use the stomach of the giant toad on Mount Maiboku to pack them up and send them back to Konoha for a summoning beast auction. Konoha gets 30% of the profits, he gets 30%, Minato gets 20%, and Jiraiya gets 20%. Hokage-sama has already sent people to clean up the Zero training ground as their temporary place to stay, and Jiraiya-sensei has also prepared it. Namikaze Minato scratched his cheek, feeling a little embarrassed when talking about this. This was the first time he had discussed the distribution of benefits with the village. As someone who had been taught the will of fire since childhood, he always felt that such things were inappropriate. Then let's get started. Yamanaka Kei said, then jumped off the boat and stood on the sea. Although he noticed Minato's struggle, he didn't say much. Minato is too honest after all. To put it bluntly, giving Konoha 30% of the profit is just a transaction. I'm not referring to something as trivial as Konoha providing the auction venue. Instead, they exchanged these benefits for a large amount of prestige, which served as a ladder for their promotion and greatly accelerated their pace of entering the upper echelons of Konoha. In order to seek more autonomy or leadership in a possible war. Otherwise, given Yamanaka Kei's previous style of doing things, who the hell would give money to the village? The situation in the ninja world is volatile now, and a war may break out at any time. It would be better if the higher UPS gave him money instead. Minato couldn't figure out all this, but the third generation and the elders definitely knew it, otherwise they wouldn't have cooperated to clean out the training ground Zero. Good. Namikaze Minato followed Yamanaka Kei's footsteps and jumped into the sea. Wow wow wow, the two of them only ran less than a kilometer. The sea surface not far away began to surge with undercurrents. A shadow that was obviously darker than the color of the sea water was coming towards them quickly. Yamanaka Kei did not stop walking and took out a sealing scroll from the scroll bag on the chest of the Janin vest. He quickly opened the scroll page with one hand, and with the other hand, he formed a seal and pressed it on the storage seal with the word fish written on it. Untie. Ninjutsu, mind-transforming puppet spell seal technique. A fish-shaped puppet made of special materials and no bigger than a palm appeared. Under the control of the heart-turning puppet curse technique, he dived into the sea with even more turbulent undercurrents with a flick of his tail. It only takes a few breaths. Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato both stopped. Under their feet, a giant swordfish that was more than 10 meters long was slowly floating up under the control of the mind-transforming puppet curse technique. Carrying the two of them, he continued to head towards Summoning Island. Under Yamanaka Kei's control, the swordfish swung its tail quickly, and in just a few breaths, its speed exceeded 200 km per hour. And it is still accelerating. Ride the wind and waves. I'm a little reluctant to sell you. Yamanaka Kei glanced at the swordfish at his feet. Suddenly I thought, it would be nice to have a means of sea transportation like this. Just the thought of turning this giant swordfish into a real summoning beast requires not only taming and breeding it, but also improving its intelligence and obedience. He gave up the idea because he thought it would require long-term feeding and care, and finding a suitable breeding ground. It's not that we can't afford it, but the cost-effectiveness is too low. Even the Mount Maiboku that he always complained about didn't require the contractors to find insects and raise toads themselves. Wow, we circled around the rather large summoning island. Two powerful sea beasts hidden under the sea surface, after repeated provocations from Yamanaka Kei, started chasing after the swordfish. Minato, get ready. The storage scroll that Yamanaka Kei had not yet retracted was pulled open again. Two special puppet fish, under the control of the mind-transforming puppet curse technique, crashed into the heads of the two sea beasts like arrows. Without exception, both were controlled by the mind-turning puppet curse technique. It leaned obediently against the shore, getting close to the giant swordfish which was slowly slowing down. Toad mouth binding technique. Namikaze Minato took out a little blood and performed the summoning technique. The stomach of the giant toad of Yangtze directly put the three sea beasts huddled together into it. Then he returned to Mount Maiboku with the three sea beasts. Roar SS. Moo. As soon as the stomach of the Yangtze toad disappeared, roars of beasts came one after another from the dense forest. Not only on this side of the coast near Yamanaka Kei and Namikaze Minato. Rather, the entire island and all living things seemed to feel the breath of their natural enemy at this moment. Confusion, anxiety, fear, hatred. The originally quiet island was in an uproar in just a short moment. Have you been discovered? Yamanaka Kei placed one hand on his forehead to block the glaring sunlight and looked out at the volcano in the center of the island. The current maximum range of his perception ability is 10 kilometers in diameter. In other words, the radius with him as the center is only 5 kilometers. Their current location is 8 kilometers away from the research institute in the center of the island. It was more than half beyond his perception range. We have ridden the swordfish around the sea for a long time. If we still can't find this, it would be a dereliction of duty. Namikaze Minato also looked into the distance. Last night, after they arrived at the sea area, Yamanaka Kei summoned a crow and quietly delivered his flying thunder god Kunao to the gate of the research institute in the center of the island. If needed, they can be there in a moment. So he is not in a hurry at all now. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.